let's start with understanding where the confusion is. So we can say in a one extreme end, we have a Agile, or I would say Scrum, mainly Scrum influenced Agile. And in the another extreme end, you have a predictive life cycle. Now, in a predictive life cycle, what are the characteristics of these two extreme ends? Let's start from there. Here we focus on that we should have a clear plan. Yeah. Requirement identified in the start. Yeah, you should have clarity about the requirement. You make clear schedule and milestones. Yeah. And usually you deliver at the end. Yeah. And you make sure that you meet time, budget, and full scope. That's the characteristics of your predictive life cycle. Usually, whenever people think about pure project management, they start thinking like this. This is something we can say a predictive life cycle. In the agile way of working, the start thinking about you have a small trusted teams. We trust them significantly. We have a flexible requirement and design. So anything we want to change, we can change, provided the right product owner is giving us. Yeah, we focus on frequent delivery. That's thing we focus on. Cost is not an issue. Yeah, so we don't have a no fixed budget. It evolves over time. Yeah. So we decide every sprint, we decide, do we want to continue with the next sprint also? No fixed timeline. So they evolve. Yeah. And everyone is collaborating and motivated to get these things moving. Yeah. So that's a high collaborative environment rather than you have done this or you have not done this. So that kind of things are not there. Now, these things, again, we can go with the manifesto and roles and other stuff, but let's stay to practical language rather than just get into theory. This all is something associated with Agile. Yeah. Now you have your project or your work, let's not use a word project here. You have a work, your initiative, and which might be somewhere in between. You can say, okay, I have some percentage of this and some percentage of this. Now this whole boundary till here is a hybrid boundary. Yeah. So you can say I have sometime you may be here, which means you have say 20 more 80% predictive and 20% agile. You can say that here more predictive and here you have a more agile, and you may be here where you can say we are 80% agile and 20% predictive. So our project management way of working, or I would say the PMP Agile, is about how a project manager learn to deal with hybrid situation. Yeah, that is the focus of PMP exam. Now, this hybrid, we cannot tell you do this, because hybrid here and another hybrid here will have a different process. Yeah, somebody is working like this, which you can say that B may be, you can say 60% requirements are clear, but 40% will evolve. Yeah, that could be one type of hybrid. And here you have another type of hybrid which says 20% requirement are clear in start, 80% evolve. Yeah, that could be one characteristics. Maybe you can say high level budget outline is there 1 to 2 years, but not very fixed. Here you may have a situation where they are saying the duration is fixed. You can still flexible about the time, about the scope, but duration is fixed. So there could be different nature of each initiative. We can't say that we will work in a one particular manner. And looking at that nature, you need to find out what is going to be your life cycle. And in a PMP exam, we try to train you about both the dimension. So for example, again, I'm just giving you an idea of a perspective of PMP with going little beyond our content. So we tell you how to do costing in a very clear requirement perspective. How do you do scheduling when you have a clarity about requirement? That's a predictive lifecycle tool you learn. So we teach you still the both. So we teach you predictive, yeah, in case of PMP. So like thing like scheduling, costing, baseline management, contract management. So those are the stuff which are very much associated with a predictive life cycle. You end up learning them, yeah, here. The final mix you still need to create. We don't say that in your project B and project A, you need to behave like this because we don't know about your project. So we teach the project manager to be vigilant to select appropriate approaches for themselves, but we teach the foundational tool. And similarly, we teach the foundational agile tools, like we teach them estimation like story points, stories, what is a release planning, which may not be covered in the Agile Scrum, but yes, we learn about release planning, we learn about iteration planning, we learn about communication in the Agile style, we learn about matrices in the Agile style as well, we will learn predictive lifecycle as well, and that portion we learn as well. Now, out of Agile portion, today I have taken some portion which can make a best fit in our 3.5 hour. That is something we are doing. But this is how the unique combination of PMP exam comes in. With certification or without certification, it makes you ready to take care of hybrid situations. So that's the context to start with. Yeah. Any question till here before I go further? Any comment, disagreement, anything? Yeah. Good. Now, another issue in the, go ahead, Swati, you want to say something?
No, sir.
Yeah. Now, another issue is when you go for pure agile trainings, they don't even recognize project. Yeah. So there is a problem related to, do we have a project and do we have a project manager? And do we have a contracts, etc., etc. Yeah. So all these things are missing in the pure agile content, but we will learn in our PMP space. Now, as Dinesh nicely pointed out, what is project? I want to focus on that. And then we understand what is not project. Yeah, probably is there any situation where we can work in a without project mode? Yeah. So usually the pure agile has been designed to consider product way of working. Yeah. And the agile or the project management PMP exam is designed, or theories are designed to understand project ways of working. And many times this is the confusion, as I was pointing out, the team and stakeholder may be looking for somebody who has learned agile. They might be only looking for product way of working. They don't understand project way of working. And people who have not yet learned agile, they might be only focusing on project way of working. And you as a leader, scrum master, project manager, project coordinator may remain confused. You can say, guys, how do I bring these people together? Now, before you bring them together, you need to understand what is the meaning of it. So say you have a product. Yeah. So say Swati was telling you are making some e-commerce website. Give me the example, Swati, again. What is that website does?
Actually, it's electronic items based e-commerce website,
Okay.
and
Do you
it
have a
is for
name to your site?
sellers.
Something?
It is for sellers only. It is not available for each and every
Okay.
person,
So we can
basically.
say B2B, B2B
B2B and
mobile
B2C.
sell, B2Bsale.com, if I give a word to it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, there are sellers like B2B and B2C.
Yeah. So you can say
They have.
B2B mobile .com. I just give
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
Yes.
So assuming this organization wants to make this B2B mobile.com, and their vision is, yeah, their vision is it creates a platform for
Platform for sellers.
sellers focusing on Electronic items.
Well, yeah, electronic items and in bulk way. Means
Electronic
it is
items in bulk quantity. That's
bulk quantity. Yeah, this is not for a
retailers,
normal
yeah,
person.
small
Yeah,
buyers or
it
not.
is.
That's why we use the word
Yes.
B2B here. Yeah, great.
Yes.
So assuming they made this particular vision, the company decided about it. Now we need to understand why they are doing it. They may have a market research behind it. Yeah, they have their own thing. They may have a group of people who are doing this business maybe right now without website. So they have a market research. They have a long-term strategy about how about like getting sellers, getting buyers, and making money. Yeah, yeah. So that kind of whole strategy is there. And there are some people who are working here. They are saying we need to make money out of b2bmobile.com. Yeah, even if the website is not there, but they have to think about what we want to do with this. Yeah. In a basic terminology, if we use a generic standards, we can call it, it's a product team. Yeah, it's a product team which has a vision, and they want to run and create this b2bmobile.com and maintain it for next 20 years or 10 years. That's something they want to make a money out of it. Yeah, so that's there. Now this team may also have figured it out that, see, we cannot make this b2b mobile in a one go. Probably we will develop it in the next 2-3 years, and these are the possible milestones we will take. And ultimately, we will probably at some point in time, we will think of retiring the B2B mobile, maybe after 5-10 years. So they may say that we will launch with our basic version. They may have that idea. Maybe after launching for a basic version, they may want to wait for 3 months. Yeah. And then they will have say version 2, which they are thinking of at a super high level right now. And after that, they are not clear what they want to do, but they do anticipate there will be some work which will happen at a later stage also at a version 3. In between, they may not do anything. They will do sustenance of the website, maintenance. Yeah. So they probably think about doing that. And this is something as a vision they have clarity about in their mind. Now, in our product language, this thing we call it what? Roadmap. We can say we have a vision and we have a roadmap. Now, somebody will say, but you were talking about project way of working or product way of working. Yes, I was talking about it. Now, pure agile or a product way of working believes we better create a one product team or a group of people, and they will keep working throughout the life of this product on this initiative. We can say in our company, we hire 20 developers and say 20 developers, your goal is b2bmobile.com. Yeah, we will give you some goal and some targets every month, every quarter. But for you, you are there. You are there. You are there for b2bmobile.com. You are not on any project. Yes, we are first launching basic version, then we'll launch second version. You need to maintain it. You are permanently attached to it. Yeah, so there is no temporary endeavor. That way of working is presented in a Scrum way of working. So default presentation of Scrum is you prepare a product backlog. There will be a product owner coming from this product management team, and someone who works with the stakeholder regularly. And for next 20 years, 5 years, 20 years, you will keep working on this product line. Yeah, that's a pure Scrum way of working, you can say. But many organizations may not want to do that. They will say, guys, this is something expensive. I want to identify some portion of my roadmap. Yeah. And I want to initiate a project for a while. And I want to create a special team who will produce this project output for me. Yeah, they will have some deliverable. And after that, I will decide what I want to do. Maybe I will take a pause. And if I need it, later on, I will, for a portion of a roadmap, I will have another project. Yeah. Now, this project, I may work with a vendor. I may work with a temporary team. We give them a clear goal that we want to launch it and we want to achieve something. We don't give a 10-year goal. We give them a 3 months, 6 months goal. And after that, we will take output from them, we will observe it, and we'll decide what we want to work in that mode. That becomes project way of working. So you can say project way of working is basically focusing on achieving the product roadmap with the help of series of projects. So you may have a here project A. As of now, you only have a project A, but it has a clear end date. Product will run even after that. This team is a permanent team. This team will keep working on b2bmobile.com. So the people who are selling mobile, people who want to work on work with the partners, promote it, market it, they are working in a product mode all the time because they are there. But the development team which you are hiring, you are saying, guys, give us something and we want to make a use of it, and then we will decide what we want to do next. Yeah. So they form a project A, and you may come here, and all roles like a project and project manager and contract may become relevant here. And after a while, you may have a situation and you may do something else. Now, here also, there could be some flexibility. They may say, okay, guys, we are not giving you a clear-cut requirement. We are hiring you for 6 months, but it can last for 8 months. We are going with little flexible contracting with you, probably time and material or some flexible requirement with you. But over a period of time, we will figure it out what we want to work with you. From my understanding, all three of you are working in a project mode. Yeah. And you might have learned SAFe and Scrum, which teaches you as a product mode. And you are figuring out yourself as of now, integrating these two ideas and taking it forward. Here, I have given you a little framework to think about it in a little systematic manner, so there is less conflict. Any question on this introduction of product versus project? So my objective is, with this, your dilemma of predictive lifecycle versus agile and hybrid and understanding project versus product get resolved. And PMP exam is designed for this way of working, the upper way of working, the project way of working. Yeah, I would say the PMP is here. Scrum is designed here. CSM class is designed for this class, this thing. Leading SAFe Agilist class is designed for this mode only. They are not designed for project way of working. Now, inside project, you can use Scrum. Inside project, you can use SAFe. But that is something you are using, and you are adding Agile in a project rather than you are using project in Scrum. You don't use project in Scrum. You use Scrum in project. You can say, I start with a project. I start with the boundaries and clarity. And then I have to figure it out. How do I execute it inside? Depending upon the way my organization wants to do, looking at requirement and other factors.
So, Saket, one quick question on your last statement. You just said that we implement the Scrum in a project. So when we start the project, we usually talk about milestones, right? And how do we achieve the milestones? So where do we squeeze in this roadmap?
Yeah, so you probably need to create a project plan or a high-level project plan. It is not a roadmap. So you will say that you probably need to give a portion of your roadmap which is coming under your project boundary. You need to give a milestone till here. So project management, project team will focus this portion only, but product manager, this group, may maintain a high-level roadmap also.
Got it.
Yeah. Now, how I do it? I probably end up using some predictive tools. Probably I end up making Gantt chart, probably, depends. Or I may not make it. I may just make a high-level projection based on rough order of magnitude estimate. That is something no one can teach you. That is something you need to figure it out. What we teach you in a PMP exam, a possible tools which can be used with a clarity and without clarity. So we can say we will learn predictive tools which helps you in preparing very clear plans, and we help you in preparing adaptive tool which helps you in creating vague plans. Now, depending upon where your project stand, there is a possibility if you are working in a project B, you may need to have a very clear master plan. You need to give them a clear milestone for upcoming 6 months because it has a clear requirement. But inside execution, you will do in a sprinting. Again, there could be a variance 20%, but not 50%. Yeah, so you will work with that. If you are working in a stage, then you will give them a high-level milestones, but the error in those high milestones may be 50%. We can say dates will evolve over a period of time, but we need to figure it out as we go along. So that is something we need to figure out based on our characteristics. But in a PMP exam, we learn these tools which are very useful for our knowledge. Yes.
So can we call the whole thing as a program?
Now the word program is little different. Yeah, the program is more. I started teaching program management recently. So program is an aggregation of multiple projects. So you can say that for a bigger goal, we are running 3 projects, and I need to integrate all these 3 projects and make sure that we achieve a big goal. So you have a 3 independent significantly independent project team. They have their own local stakeholders also. They have their own timeline, they have their own budget which is approved for them, and then on top of it you have an aggregation of it, and you are taking care of coordination, integration, and overall budget management. That thing will be called program management. Again, you will use both the ideas and create a hybrid approach for there, but the difference between words project and program is this. Yeah, so PMP exam still focuses on projects. They have a separate program which focuses on program. Yeah,
Sure, thank you.
good. So hopefully this gives you an idea to start with and start clarifying your confusion related to the theory of Agile and the projectized implement of Agile. And if I take a Dinesh point, Dinesh, if you go with Agile knowledge, fitting these things are relatively easy for your PMP exam. Around 60 to 70% of the content is around these areas in the Agile thing from an exam perspective. Yes, from a learning perspective, we do have a heavy content talking about costing, scheduling, and all. Yeah, but it won't come that much in the exam. Yeah, it will only come 25% in the exam. So a foundational knowledge of that content which you will get in our class is good enough. And PMP is far easier now compared to which it used to be 3-4 years ago. So if we get a fair understanding of Agile way of working in a project mode, we are done, and we understand a little bit of people's perspective, handling conflicts and managing motivation and all those things. That will be good enough for your future working. Yeah. So we are done with hybrid approach. We are done with project versus product, and we start looking at this particular context. I take a little more. I'm teaching something else which other than what is explained in the agenda, but I think that is something will be useful for all of you. Yeah. Good till here?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyone has a
Yes.
point? Yeah, good. Thank you. Now, little bit confusion, taking point further. How do we start? What will be the typical flow? Yeah. How do you put Scrum inside the project? I made a philosophical statement, put Scrum inside the project rather than putting project in a Scrum. But what does it really mean? Yeah. So we can say in our PMP exam perspective, there could be 2 types of projects. One could be a strategic projects. So say the same company who want to sell b2bmobile.com, they have their own developers and they want to initiate the project in their own company. That's a strategic project direction. And there could be a contract driven projects. So say the strategy is with someone else. We got a contract to make something. Yeah. So we can say contract driven project. So let's see. The strategic projects usually starts with you get an idea. So assuming this mobile electronic selling company, they might be doing manual selling right now. They have a shop and they got an idea. Why don't we do an online thing? So they got a need or an opportunity which came in their mind. And with this need and opportunity, they are thinking, let's take it forward. Let's make something possible. And they propose their management that we want to make an online website. Yeah, someone got this idea. The management says, we have a limited money. Show me our money will really produce result. Yeah. So they usually ask for something called business case. Again, you can ignore these all things. These are little a complicated topic of project management, but we should have a context. Yeah. So they ask for a business case. Business case usually focus on cost benefit. What will be the cost of this initiative and what will be the benefit of this initiative? And based on this business case evaluation, they may approve the project. This is okay, let's get started. Yeah, we are approving a project and let's do it. Yeah, so project may get approved. That's a possibility. One flow. You can say, yeah, that might be there. For my company, this all is not happening. So what is happening? Maybe someone else had that strategy. Yeah. And your company is somewhere here and they had a business case approved. Now they come to you and give a requirement to you. Sometimes we call it RFP, request for proposal. So they send RFP or a requirements to you, to your company, to your sales company, your sales group. You may have a sales department who takes care of these kind of things. And your sales department will probably create a team out of it and they will propose a proposal. They will give a proposal as a result. As of now, development is not started, team is not formed. Now, in a proposal, they will show what is possible, how much money it will cost, how much time it will take. They give all high-level dreams. I can understand in Dinesh's case, they are giving little very critical information because that's why it makes it fixed price. So there is a proposal is given. And based on that proposal, finally, they sign up something called contract. Contract is basically signed between your company sales team and the customer. Yeah. Now, some development team may also start getting involved for input perspective. But once the contract is signed, then you can say, guys, we won this contract. We have to do this work in this much money and this much technology and all those things. Now let's get started with the project. Yeah. So the contract-driven projects are more common if you are working in a service company. So say if you work in the organization where you do work for others, then you only work in a contract-driven project. If you're working in a bank and bank has its own ideas and they are initiatives and you are working on them, then you are working on a strategic project. So when you are doing a work where the customers are your organization people only, then you are doing strategic work. If you are doing work for someone else, you are doing contract-driven project. Now, actually, how exactly your project has to be executed, what all practices you need to follow, how stringent the timelines are, at a good percentage level, it is already identified when you made the contract. Yeah. So your organization is making some commitments. They are committing some amount of money. They are agreeing to the way of charging. They are agreeing to way of deliverables. And this all will influence your planning now. Yeah. Now, this information passed to you. We use Word, project chart and others, so I am not getting into detail. And this is somewhere they will say, guys, now you are here and we need to start this project. And this is an input requirement. This contract is given or this strategy is given. Now, depending upon contract, you will figure it out how much flexibility I have. There could be a contract where you have crystal clear understanding, but they want incremental delivery. Yeah. You may have, so that is something is coming from there. Now, based on that, if you realize that rather than making a sequential work, where we will do 3 months of design, 3 months of development, and then release it, we want to do iterative work or incremental work. Then you say that we need to start with agile way of working. Right now, I'm focusing on agile way of working. So what will you do? Maybe in the initial first week, yeah, as a project manager, project leader, coordinator, scrum master, whatever word suits to you, but you are a leader here. So you probably will find out the constraints, what are the limits we have, yeah, the requirements based on the documents, yeah, high level, let's put it high level requirements. You will also identify the player in the game, stakeholders. Yeah, you will also onboard your team. You will also find out tools and technologies. Yeah, such kind of initial activities you do along with your coordination of your organization. Now, good part of this may be recommended by your company also. You may have a ready-made list of stakeholders. This says, whenever you do the project, these are the type of people should be involved. You may have a pre-allocated team to you that for this project, these are the 10 people will work for you. So it depends upon your organization context, but we need to figure this out. And based on all this, you may do a brainstorming session initially. You form your product backlog. And basically this product backlog contain the things which are part of your project. You may have something other than project also, assuming if your product team already had something, you can say this all is there, but it will be in a future. For us, our focus is this much portion. And this portion will keep evolving over a period of time. Just for the sake of using the same words, even in the project word, we call this artifact product backlog only, but it may have more requirement related to project, and future requirement can also be there, which may come at some point in time in the product roadmap. So here is the birth of your product backlog. If you go for pure Scrum training, they assume that product roadmap could be a birth of your backlog and your role is not there. But this is how in practice, in your kind of setup, we will get started. So now what you did, you started with the project. You are not starting with a Scrum. You are starting with a project. You understood the characteristic of the project. Now you are saying, okay, looks like I need to use Scrum-based process in it. And you will figure it out who all will be there, what all roles and responsibility they will do. And after that, you are planning that, okay, we will run some iterative work, sprint-based work inside it. You may have a long-term plan also prepared using some release planning or some kind of tools. Yeah, we do teach release planning and all in our other classes, but you have you can say high-level milestones, yeah, which you need to project. Which might be supporting the product roadmap only. Yeah, that's expected. Maybe not the full roadmap, but portion of the roadmap will be there. Ideally, the product team will integrate this high-level milestone with their overall product roadmap as well. And then for the initial duration, you will start working in the sprints. You can say, okay, guys, let's do the sprints and we'll figure it out what we can produce in a given sprint. Yeah. So that will be a birth of using Scrum in project rather than using project in Scrum. So your starting point is project. Any question, comment here? Hopefully this clarifies the confusions which might be there in our day-to-day working. Good. So if this is done, I think you are in touch with reality now. If this much concept is understood, though your reality you have to discover yourself, but you know that realities will be confusing and reality could be something like this, and I need to figure it out exact detail related to my requirements and project. Now I can focus on some of the topics from here and probably we can discuss how we do quality management, risk management, and communication management. The intent was just to teach you how to use, say, project management theories in Agile world. Yeah, that's at least portion of it. That's what we are trying to learn here. Yeah. But if you have any other idea before I move inside quality, then we can discuss that. So I think you have learned about PMP and Agile. That is something we have covered. And now we want to focus on quality management in Agile. Yeah, pause in case someone has a question. All good, looks like. Yeah, Padma, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Great. Yeah. So any point in time, if you have something, please let us know. It's a small group. We will explore. Now, see, whatever
one question.
Please, Dinesh, yeah.
So we discussed about the PMP, right? So for instance, if customer is not agile driven, right? If they are still on a predictive, but you want to finish off the project, within a stipulated time, you need to adapt to the agile methodologies, right? So in that case, how do we drive those projects? Mostly customer is not driving because you have a fixed contract, but you want to fastly drive the engagement and get the things done quickly. If customer side we have any dependencies, so that is where I typically get stuck.
So in a word, what we are trying to say is there are 10 ideas in Agile and Scrum. Yeah. And you want to take few of those ideas for your project. So you are working on your hybrid creation. You can say, I need to create a hybrid requirement. Now, customer is not interested in looking at demos and reviews because he has given you the requirement and he believes the requirement is very well understood and he is looking for a delivery at the end of 6 months. For example, you want to make sure that we are running sprints. but customer is not available for the demo. Customer is not available for the feedback. Now you are confused. You can say, I am not using sprint in that sense. So actually you have to create your hybrid approach where it will say, we have a baseline scope to start with, for example, but our executions are incremental. We have incremental releases for internal evaluation and continuous feedback and continuous integration with other vendors for risk mitigation purpose. But if you have a change if you have a change idea, if you have an improvement idea, that will not directly go into the backlog. We need to review it. We need to review as per our baselines. So you are keeping your scope fixed, possibly, and you are only focusing on incremental delivery. And in incremental delivery, you are using all the approaches related to the communication styles, daily stand-ups, reports, Jira way of working from Agile. But that's your hybrid approach. And you need to make sure that the stakeholder, or the team member also understand it is not pure Agile. We are just doing execution incrementally. And if we discover some issues, we probably need to go for change management process. So that way we need to come up with our hybrid process, which is more or less same with what we are discussing, but we need to come up with our hybrid process. So somewhere it will be somewhere here.
So in this case, are we saying that we are okay with the changes, accepting changes?
No, we are not. So if you are saying the word baseline scope means you are not easily accepting the change until unless customer agrees to pay more, in a simple word. So we are open. We are open, but our contract type is fixed type. So we can't be just doing it without taking an approval like that.
Okay.
Dinesh, you wanted to add something?
No, I think that's it. I got the understanding on how to drive this. Okay.
Yeah.
So unless there is a change in the requirement, you will again revisit your baseline if it is going to change the entire scope, right? So then you will ask for a change and then, okay.
Yeah, because see, whenever you have a fixed price, the scope has to be fixed most likely. And wherever you have a customer not frequently engaged, for them it's a clear requirement and they hope at the end result coming in, then you need to have a documentation as well. The another thing you need to be very clear about in such kind of context, the scope baseline should be well documented and one signed off. You can say, guys, this is what you will get in 6 months time. But when you are executing, you can say, if we will make a sequential process, I may not even come to know, are we going in a right track till 6 months pass by. So even if we are developing 100 features, the 100 features are fixed, but I want to develop 20, so that at least I am very sure that 20 are working and we are integrating and mitigating our risk. But if after working on 20, somebody will say, no, change 5 of those 20, I will say, guys, I'm not going to change. You see the document, we already had an agreement. We have made it, but it's already an agreement. I can change it, but it will cost you money. I am willing to do that. But because of the nature of project, we are asking for money there.
That is the data challenge always.
So that is the whole idea. We want to train our project managers with that mindset. That is the whole focus of our PMP space. So as I said, actually your major life cycle approach is defined by this contract only. Many a time when you think about Agile and Scrum, people will say, oh, looking at a requirement, looking at a thing, we will decide, do we want to do Agile, do we want to predictive life cycle? That's a one factor. But good percentage, if you are doing contract-driven project, Agile, not Agile, is defined by what are my contract deliverables, what are my terms and conditions, how do I get money? It is, if I'm getting a fixed money and the stakeholder only want to see the product at the end, and even if I want to use Agile, but that Agile has a different meaning. I need to first make sure that I close the loop with the customer and says, this is the thing you will get and this is the money you are paying. So are we clear? He says, yes, we are clear. Okay, I will give you incrementally, but this is what we are doing. Now, there could be other situation also where customer is not asking for fixed price. Customer is, as Dinesh was pointing out briefly, the customer could be doing time and material project. They are engaged. They are saying, we want to make a website, but we don't know exactly what we want, but we will closely work and my team will work with your development team. Give us 5 developers. There will be 2 people from my company who will work. There will be a manager also. And this team will work together and we'll figure it out every month what we want to work upon. Yeah. Then you have a project, but you have a flexibility. You can say, we want to change something, we'll change it. No change request is needed because our money is coming based on timesheets. We fill the timesheet, what we have done in a month, we get a money. Yeah, so we will keep filling timesheet. And if the manager keeps approving it, we will keep getting money. So as a vendor, I am not worried. And I will say, guys, you follow your boss instruction. You don't have to do any documentation for the change. Perfectly okay. Yeah. So that's how we equate and we start understanding that in reality, it has to be starting from the contract. Now, I am not having an access of the contract. I don't know what is written in the contract. Then you are putting yourself for a big risk. Yeah. Majorly, organization end up learning after some time. A good organization will make sure the execution team, project team has been briefed about the contract. If that practice is not there in your company, then you are at a bigger challenge because salespeople should clarify what is free and what is not free. Yeah, where you can accept your mistake, where you need to come to us, we will charge money to the client. Yeah, what is our scope and what is not our scope as per the contract has to be well understood by the project manager, at least by the project manager. That's the mindset we create for project managers. Good. I hope this 1 hour has given you some extra information, which helps you to think about your day-to-day work as well as about your PMP exam if at some point in time you want to do it. If this is good, then let me start with quality, a small topic. And then I think after quality, I will pick risk and metrics. Maybe communication and retrospectives are anyway well understood, but we'll see. We'll prioritize accordingly depending upon time and effort we want to put for this activity. So many a time, people get confused when they are doing our hybrid style projects. How do we do quality planning? How do we maintain quality matrices, quality artifacts, quality documents in Agile way of working? Because in Agile, we are working together and we don't have any specific quality phase or quality artifacts coming out. Yeah. So especially people coming from predictive lifecycle, they may have this confusion. If you have been using Agile, then you know how it works. So here I am trying to marry the predictive lifecycle terminology, or I would say project management terminology, with Agile way of working. And probably I'm starting with the term which is about quality management plan. This is something I planned for my content. So that's the reason. Yeah. So say in our predictive lifecycle, we create something called quality management plan. If you have been doing projects, you can say that as your CMMI process, ISO process, for each project, you have a quality management plan. Now, somebody will say, what does it contain? So say the project is a temporary endeavor. You will do something, you will finish a deliverable and you will release it and the team will close and you will disperse people. Yeah. But the B2B which you have created will live for long. It will live even after the project gets closed. Now, if you are making some mistake, assuming you are a vendor company only, support company only, customer is someone else, but your contract may also involve 6 months of support after project gets over. You disperse the project team, but if there are a lot of defects coming during that 6 months, you are in a trouble. You can say, guys, I'm spending more money in these 6 months than the project. Or if you are its own company, then you also need to maintain it. So usually, organization wants to give some guideline, some kind of limitation to a project team so that project teams does not take shortcuts. The project team focuses on quality outputs. And that is called quality management plan. So the organization saying that, guys, you need to produce X amount of documentation. You need to use Y type of quality practices. You need to use these quality checklists. And this is something we are recommending to you. These are the matrices you need to follow. And let's have an agreement about it. And that is called quality management plan. Now, somebody will say, in my company, I don't have it. We just do. Possible. Yeah, possible. It's a little risky, but it's possible. But in that case, you may have an informal understanding of what is quality. You may have a clarity that we will use unit testing. For example, we will use continuous integration. We will use peer review. We will use pair programming. We will have a clear understanding of what is needed in the form of definition of done. All these things are serving the same objective as quality management planning. So in agile way of working, sometime even in a PMP exam, you don't create a quality management plan. Yeah, you are saying we are following quality in general, but you create something else. So what are those tools which focuses on quality? Yeah, that's something we are exploring here. So in agile way of working, yeah, we are saying there are something. All these things are written in that PDF file as well, which I sent to you, and I will send via email as well. So in case you are worried, if how do I recap this? You have a recording and you have a PDF file to read, yeah, in case needed. So quality management in Agile is basically founded on some principles. And the first principle is, you can say, build in quality. And sometimes you also learn about shift left approach. So say in the point which Dinesh was pointing out, you say, I want to work in a adaptive mode because I want to mitigate my risk internally. In our sequential process, we are running plan, do, check, act cycle anyway. Yeah. Everywhere we are running plan, do, check, act cycle. Yeah. So you do a planning. Yeah. You plan your work. You do your work. That's something you do. Yeah. You review your work. And then you adjust your work, act. Now, in case of adaptive life cycle, our assumption is we know what we are doing. We can do a plan for next 3 months. We can run for 3 months and we will check after 6 months or 1 year, and some minor plus minus adjustment might be needed, which we'll do. Some minor, not much. Yeah, because we know what we are doing. And we take a big plan to check act cycle. In the agile way of working, our focus will be that says, guys, no, don't do like this. Focus on small plan to check act cycles. You can say, I will take small requirement. So like Dinesh saying that even if customer is not looking, but I want to work in an iteration because I want to integrate and mitigate risk for related to various areas. So that's also a risk management strategy. Yeah. So that's a default risk management strategy also of Agile, that let's work in a small iterations and cycles. And this is helping me to take care of risks of misunderstanding. Yeah. Technological risk, if something is working or not working, and it also ensure quality with frequent testing, because you are finishing things. You are just not delaying things for the later side. So we want to work in a small batch cycles, small loops, and that thing is taking care of our majority of quality and risk management problem. Yeah, so that's a agile way of looking at this particular thing. Another thing which is also associated with shift left. So say even in a small cycle, you may want to do analysis, coding, testing, and then finally mark done. Try to bring testing as early as possible. So that thing we call it shift left. So say focus on bringing review while you are doing requirement exploration. Focus on bringing review when you are doing coding yourself. So you can say you have a peer level reviews. Focus on bringing the unit testing, early automation, rather than testing happening at a later stage. So the basic principle of Agile is small batch size and bringing the validation and verification as early as possible in our development cycles. Yeah. And focusing on working software is a primary measurement of progress. So you can say you need to have something showing. Yeah, it's just not that you create a metric saying our requirements are 50% complete. We can say no 50% complete. Show me the requirements which are clearly complete, and that takes care of good quality in our projects. Yeah, so that's an agile way of looking at a quality. Now, from a tool perspective, one of the critical tool we use for quality, or I would say two of the critical tools we use for quality, one is called DOD, yeah, and another is called retrospective. Yeah, so we want to talk about them. here. Yeah, again, they are both are our part of our topic, but we want to discuss them here. And both are important for PMP exam as well. Yes. Any question or comment till here before I talk about these things? Or anyone wanna explain DoD to us from the perspective of quality? How do you think DoD can ensure a good quality? Just sharing.
It is more like a readiness, right? So definition of done, you will have your readiness checklist, and you know whether the product is in acceptable condition or not. Those things are part of DoD.
Perfect. And the more clear and stringent it has, the more quality product you get. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good, Padma, you wanna say something?
No, I was basically mentioning the similar lines. The
Okay.
end product, basically. It's the
Mhm.
end bit, whether it is sprint based or for the short term or for the long term. Basically, that's when you can satisfy yourself and the team saying that it is an quality based. And verification and validation should always be part of it.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, that's it.
So my question is, does this DoD includes UAT portion also?
Yeah, so that's something you have to decide. That's the point. Yeah. So it depends. Now, what does it depends means? Are you making incremental releases or you are still making release at the end? Yeah. If you are making release at the end, probably your DoD will not have a UAT testing. You can say we will do UAT later. Now, what is the risk here? There could be some feedbacks which could have been received early, but you are postponing it at a very later stage. So the whole idea of DoD is there is no perfect DoD. DoD has to be prepared for your project, for your situation. But the more detailed and more stringent it is, it mitigates your risk, it improves your quality. Yeah. So when you are doing sprint planning, what all you should plan? So first, let's start with a clear definition of what is DoD. So when you are finishing something and you prepare your deliverable, we call them increment. And we are saying this increment has included a particular set of requirements. Yeah, we want to say that these 3 stories has been added here. Now, when do we say they are added here? What is a criteria where we can say that this work is done? Yeah. What should be a characteristic of that software, that deliverable, which need to be met in order to mark those incremental work completed? And that thing is defined with the help of definition of done. So definition of done talks about some internal quality checkpoints. For example, you may say the code review should be done. It may talk about the integration should be done. It may talk about the defect should be resolved. Yeah, it may talk about the data should be migrated. Maybe user manual has to be updated, and maybe customer demo has been given. That could also come. Yeah, usually it only comes when you have a very frequent releases happening. Else that will happen at a later stage, which is a risk also, but you understand that. But from a Scrum perspective, they are giving you DoD to have a common understanding of what is called completion. And that common understanding between team and stakeholder takes care of intrinsic quality as well, internal quality. Internal quality of your work is something based on the nature of your definition of done. So I have been making some questions for interviews for the Scrum Masters, because many clients keep interviewing Scrum Master. And I personally believe if I just ask a Scrum Master, share your DoD. Yeah, what is your DoD for your current project or whatever current initiative you are working in? Just based on the DoD, I can know what is working in their project and what is not working in their project. And I probably get a whole health of the Scrum implementation and the competency just by understanding the DoD part of that particular project. Yeah. So DoD having customer acceptance, DoD not having customer acceptance, DoD having unit testing closer, not having unit testing, DoD having integration, DoD not having integration. All those can help you in understanding the level of quality they are following and the depth of implementation they are doing. Yeah, that's a definition of done.
Yeah, but what about the projects which have very short lifetime, like only 2 sprints or 3 sprints? If means the owner asks that we have to complete this project in 1 month or 1.5 month, then practically it is not possible to give the incremental deliveries and doing
So
end-to-end
in
testing
that
or
case,
happy flow
what we
testing.
are asking is, why do you want to use sprint in that case? Why?
Definitely, we don't use sprint in that case, but if the client is following that, using means they want the delivery as soon as possible, and they want to do it with the help of Jira and
Jira is
Scrum
a tool
also.
only. Jira is just a
Yeah,
tool only.
with
You can
so
do without sprint also in Jira. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Or you can have see, what is sprint? Sprint is a 2 weeks plan. Yeah, that's a simple word. Now, what makes 2 weeks plan sprint? That has to be very clearly understood by us. So say, let's take a little detour. I have a 6 weeks in my project duration. That's it. And I have to finish my project in 6 weeks. Yeah, 1.5 months. That's the goal. That's it. Yeah. Now I'm making because client want or everybody wants, they want 3 sprints. I'm making 3 sprints. And in a first sprint, I'm planning all the design and requirement activity. In a second sprint, I'm planning development. In a third sprint, I'm planning testing and I'm finishing it. Actually, that is not Scrum. Yeah, but you might be doing it because your customer likes it, you likes it, but that is your waterfall. Simple. Yeah, but you nothing wrong with it. Maybe that is a most suitable thing for you to do. But what will be the problem here? The definition of done will not make sense. Iteration review will not make sense. Demo will not happen here. Demo will only happen here. Yeah. So that is, if I'm explaining someone, this is not Scrum. As is, we are using some process. Yes, we plan 2 weeks planning. So what I'm doing is we are just planning for 2 weeks and making sure whatever we plan for 2 weeks, we finish it. But the
yeah, that was the my main question. Means in that case, we cannot give the definition of done.
yeah, in case you are not using Scrum. Yeah. Now, what is not happening here? What is not happening here? So what is the difference between planning for 2 weeks and following Scrum? Yeah, what is the difference? You can say this is also Scrum. What is the difference here? So difference here is that each Scrum should produce increment. Increment which is evaluated. The feedbacks are received. Yeah. Customer demo happens. And probably you end up releasing it also. Now that should happen every sprint. Now, if this is not happening, you're not running sprints. You are running something. I'm not saying it's bad. You're running something. But if you want to do this, yeah, then you need to define what is this? What all will be included in your demo. When you give a demo will come from a testing machine, from a developer's machine, from a staging server. Demo will have defects or demo will not have a defects. Demo will have production data, will not have a production data. That is called your DOD. Yeah, so we can say we need to define definition of done. Even if your DOD is not including acceptance of user, maybe UAT is not included, but I need to have a clarity at the end of a 2 weeks, when I say we have finished something, we will be showing you this, and it will be at this level of finishing. That level of finishing is your DOD. Now, DODs are not frozen. You can improve that. You improve them in a next iteration. You can say, now we need to add it more. You may have a final release where you have more testings and other things done. Those improvement can happen over a period of time. So that's how the Scrum expects to follow. And with Scrum, without DOD, you can't proceed. Yeah, you need to have a DOD, else you are confused.
So, question: the items in my DoD list, are they all necessary to be shared with my stakeholder?
With my
Stakeholder, customers, basically.
maybe yes,
Client.
depending upon your context. Depending
Okay.
upon your context. In general, the DOD is owned by team. because it has an internal checkpoints, unit testing, defect closing, review closer, integration, staging server, all. And many of those internal points may not be understandable by end customer, may not be. What end customer is more interested in, they are interested in acceptance criteria. So we need to have something other than DoD, which is for each requirement, each user story, you have a acceptance criteria defined, which tells that, when I want to have a login, I want to have a login using OTP, and login should happen within 30 seconds. And that's an acceptance criteria. So my client, my stakeholder will be more interested in knowing acceptance criteria, testing acceptance criteria. But they need to have an agreement on where do I test it at much that. But internally, you are making user document or not making user document. Some of the stakeholder may be interested, some may not be, but we need to have an agreement about that. Yeah. So how much you want to share depends.
So that is the confusion always, Sekit. Where do we document acceptance criteria and share it, or do we, how do we do it? Because it's a hybrid, right? So
in
okay,
general, if there is a confusion, sharing both is a great idea. Yeah, that's an important thing. But from an understanding perspective, what we have learned, acceptance criteria are more business language. Yeah. And definition of done is more technical language.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the whole idea. But again, whoever can understand, that's a good thing. So say I want to do a login in my B2B mobile. Yeah, login. That's a one requirement. Yeah, login requirement is there. Then there could be another requirement where I can say I can search a device. Yeah, that could be there. And then the third could be I can ask for more details in email, for example. So these all are user stories. These are requirements. Yeah. So customer is giving us these requirements to us. Now, when you are doing requirement exploration, you need to understand more details about it. Now, somebody will say, what does you mean by login? You ask question. This is, give me login via OTP. Okay, that's good. And give me login via Google also. I will say, oh, this is becoming too big. Probably Google, you want to create a separate story. So that can happen. You can say Google login because it is too much. I won't be able to handle it in a one iteration. So I suggest you to create it separate story rather than acceptance criteria. So that's another topic though. But yeah, that's a user story exploration topic. Now you had a login via OTP. We can say, okay, can I regenerate? Yes, you can regenerate OTP after 30 seconds, maybe. Okay, how many times? If wrong OTP, 3 attempts. Yeah. So this is like a thing. And after 3 attempts, block user and ask to call. Something like this, depending upon your requirements. So these all will be your acceptance criteria. This is something your customer and stakeholder will really understand. I can't dream as a developer that we need to give a call to the call center if the login attempt is blocked. Maybe they don't want to get a call. Yeah, maybe. So this is purely driven by our stakeholders. Now you can call them product owner, you can call them customers, but this is purely driven by them. Now Google login, probably they can also say that I can use my Google account with saved password also, and those kind of details are there, maybe, and maybe it has a wrong password and forget password option as well. So this is the acceptance criteria for that. Search a device, probably I can say I want to search based on description, maybe, or supplier, possibly vendor, supplier, all those kind of things will be there. So all these are acceptance criteria. Now you are discussing them, refining them in a backlog refinement meeting. And once you are working on them, now you are planning this work. You can say, guys, when we finish our iteration, what should be there? Yeah. So that is something your definition of done. You are saying, guys, we need to make sure acceptance criteria are met. That will be a first line in your definition of done. Make sure that code is on staging. Yeah, it should be integrated with other stories. It should not be like I only have a one story on a one menu and I will show it. That is not going to work. Yeah. You need to close all defects, no open defects. Yeah. Update, review comments. Do unit testing and automate unit test coverage to say 80% plus. Now, these are your definition of done. Now, it can have the internal quality topics as well, because as a project team, as a stakeholder, you want to make sure without unit testing, I don't want to mark a story done because it will be a trouble for me in future. So that way you ensure a concrete quality with the help of these definition of done. Now, any story coming has to meet acceptance criteria in front of the user. Now, your business people may not be go and check, oh, where is the unit testing coverage? They may not check it, but your quality department, you may have some group who will check that are you meeting the unit testing coverage before you mark the story done. If you are not meeting, they will not mark your story done. So this is what we call it definition of done. Yeah.
It may be a silly question, but do we need or do we ask as a coordinator or a project manager to put a comment while finishing the task, like if the developer has completed his or her unit testing or not? So how
all these
we
things,
can get,
all these
yeah,
things will get converted into some mechanism. Now, what could be a mechanism? You may have a task in a Jira which is saying DoD checking. Yeah. So someone
okay,
does a DoD checking, or you may have a each task of DoD in a Jira. You can say in a login, I have acceptance coding of login, testing of acceptance criteria of login, integrating of login with the another thing, fixing defects of login. You may have a tasks, and only when all those tasks will get covered, then only you will finish it. That's a one possibility. Or you can say, I don't want to create a task, but I have a one task which is called DoD testing. Yeah, and then the coding is done, and then DoD testing happens, and if DoD testing pass, then only the story is ready for the a closer. Yeah, that's where you will create it.
got it.
Good. So hopefully the acceptance criteria and DODs are clear. And again, in the PMP exam classes, we can't spend this much time. Yeah, that is something. And that's why I came up with these smaller programs where we can spend more in dig. PMP content is little huge, but it gives you the whole perspective of predictive, adaptive. Yeah, just in case Dinesh start relating to, oh, in a PMP, we are going to learn this much detail. I know already all this. So the answer is no. It is just here because we are a small group and we are doing a focused topic conversation. In PMP, I will spend DOD 10 minutes and we are moved to something else. Yeah. Good. So this is where we are. Any question, comment till here? So what we have covered till now, I spent time explaining you the context of hybrid world. I explained you how a project and product way of working differs and also integrate together, and probably where you see yourself, we learn about that. Then we learn about the understanding of starting the project and implementing or doing it in an agile or some mixed mode manner. So we learned what do you mean by starting with the project, and we learn about contract and other terms. Yeah, that's something we explored. And then we explored a quality topic in the agile way of working, and we explored the frequent integration, frequent feedback, mitigates lots of risk, takes care of quality inputs, and as an artifact, definition of done is the critical artifact we use, which help us in creating good quality product. The another tool before we take a break for 15 minutes is a retrospective. So the whole idea of retrospective is at the end of a iteration, yeah, if you are following the iterations here, as we were discussing, at the end of an iteration, we want to review and brainstorm how our last 2 weeks work has been done. Nice word used by how the verification and validation has happened in the last 2 weeks, probably. Yeah. So that's a nice way of looking at it. And then we are finding out how do we improve our quality processes so that we reduce rework, we improve our speed, we become more predictable. So the whole objective of using quality practices is reducing rework and producing customer satisfaction. So retrospective is like a brainstorming session. It's a continuous improvement session. Here you may apply the quality tools like root cause analysis. Yeah, you may do brainstorming. You may apply say analysis of your work. So as a team, and then you'd find out what do we do next, which can result into improving your definition of done. Yeah, adding some more checkpoints to it, that can happen as a result of retrospective. That is what I was showing, that DoD is not fixed. It has to improve over a period of time, and improvement is usually driven by an activity called retrospective. Yeah, so that's the point. Now, once I come back from the break, I think we will spend more time on matrices. Yeah, that seems to be the idea. Quality, we have taken care. Communication is all the meetings, is a relatively simple topic. We are already doing. Retrospective, I briefly explained, and more detail about retrospective can be found in that particular book. So I want to focus more on Agile matrices and some amount of conversation on how possibly we can do risk-related activities in the Agile world. We will talk. Hybrid risk management is a little big topic. We are doing a separate 3.5-hour session purely on risk management, which is basically talking about risk and artifacts around that. After I think we spend more time on metrics. Metrics is the first priority, and then we'll see if we get some time. We'll focus on risk management in Agile. Yeah. Any other feedback? That's what I am adapting to the session. But if you have any other feedback or recommendation, we can adapt.
Can we spend more time also on this?
On
the risk management?
Yeah, so Agile matrices and risk, I think these are the two I want to take. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Good. Agile matrices, we will see. If you find yourself that burn down chart, I already know, we'll prioritize. We'll prioritize possibly those matrices which are less familiar to you, rather than doing all at a detail level. Yeah, that is possible. And then we'll distribute the remaining time to risk. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was looking forward to hearing more tools and methods. How do we mitigate the risks and real-time examples?
So the detailed risk management topic, something like this, I'm doing next week. Yeah, similar like this, 3.5-hour session only on risk management. So that's happening later with a specific booklet on risk management. Today topic is more, because it's a little long. Risk management is one of the big and complex topic of PMP exam. It gives around 10 plus question in the PMP exam. That's there. That's why I created a specialized program. So you can decide if you want to get there as well. But here we are talking about how do we do these things in Agile. So Agile is more about iterative working and all. So we'll talk some examples here as well. Yes. But it is like a half-an-hour topic here. There is a 3.5-hour topic. That's the difference.
Just wanted to know what do you mean by this? The subject communication. It is whether it is with the stakeholder communication or what, or the team communication.
Exam, we have 3 types of communication: push communication, pull communication, and interactive communication.
That we will take at the end.
Yeah. So if I talk about it, it may be heavy for all of you looking at the whole context. This topic is more relevant for those people who are preparing for PMP exam, like them. Because the design of this session was for people who are going for PMP and they want to just strengthen some of the Agile concepts so they are ready for the PMP exam. So it has a pure language, which is a project management language. So I'm thinking if I try to incorporate it, then we have to distribute this time accordingly. I can do that, up to you guys. But then the whole time box will remains the same. So
yeah, if I can get little bit essence for that.
Yeah, so then probably we'll reduce the matrix topic, yeah, and we will increase this. Yeah, we can do that.
At least should get a definition so that I will be familiar with the words.
Yeah. Yes. Basically. And further to it is that all of you have this booklet, which I shared with you. And in this booklet, all these things are explained. So you can go communication. We have an explanation of communication. How do you do communication in Agile, and communication management plan in Agile. So this whole concept is here. Yes. Yeah, but we can explain also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And this PDF file is available to all of you. So what I will do, probably we'll do the communication and risk first. And then whatever time is left, we'll devote to metrics. Yeah. So the more we left with, the more time we'll spend in the metrics, less we will spend less time in the metrics. Yeah. How risk management and Agile coexist together. So traditionally, the risk management is associated with predictive life cycle. So what does it mean? So what is risk management? Let's start from a basics. So say you have a project objectives, you want to achieve them. You are making a plan for achieving those project objectives. And there are uncertain event which can put you in a trouble. From a PMI language, we call it risk is uncertain, negative or positive event, threat or opportunity. So our goal is we reduce the threats, we reduce the impacts of those threats on our project, and we maximize the opportunity which we can get in our project. So that's the approach. In a predictive life cycle, since we have a baselining of our requirement in advance, so we need to also have a detailed risk tracking throughout the project so that we can really ensure that we meet our project objective as defined in the beginning. That's a predictive life cycle. The adaptive life cycle or agile way of working with mixing of some hybrids, the goal of risk management remains the same. Still, we want to achieve our project objective by minimizing threats and maximizing opportunity. I need to do something as a manager to achieve that objective, minimizing threats, maximizing opportunity. So I do risk management all the time. The only difference is in a traditional life cycle, we have a specific set of documents. We create risk register, we create risk management plan, we create some kind of thing. In the agile way of working, those documentation may not be needed, but we still end up achieving taking care of risk in the incremental manner so that we achieve our project objectives. Yeah, so that's the summary level information. If you go for an interview as a Scrum Master, as a project manager, as a project coordinator, very easy or frequently asked question, tell me some of the risk which you have identified in your recent project and how you mitigated them and what benefit you got by identification and taking care of those risks in advance. Yeah. So as a leader, this is my job. Every week I'm doing it and I should be able to articulate that particular story. That is important for me as a project manager. That is important for me, a person doing PMP exam. That is important for me as a project delivery guy who is getting things delivered. Now, what is the approach in Agile way of working? In Agile way of working, as we understand, we work in a short iteration. Now, if we go with the Swati's example, short iteration not producing DOD, then this whole concept will not work. Then you are in a predictive life cycle only. See, the basic understanding of Agile way of working is at the end of an iteration, you have a done increment which can be reviewed. If that working software is not there, you are using something which you need to define yourself. It is not even hybrid of Agile. You can't say even it's Agile. It's a pure waterfall only, which may have some elements of agility. So you can say more than 50% is predictive life cycle. If you are at the end of the iteration, your review demos are not happening. Now, assuming you are following the Agile approach, where at the end of iteration, you definitely have an increment which meets definition of done and you are reviewing it. Then what we call it, we are taking care of risk automatically, because as we learned as a quality, so most of the fundamental of Agile will not work if you are not producing every 2 weeks something evaluatable. As we learned here, at the end of every 2 weeks, we are having evaluatable product that takes care of quality and risks. Yeah, because we cannot go without knowing uncertainty for very, very long. Yeah, that is something we are clear. So we can say, yes, we go with this particular iterative approach in the Agile way of working, and that takes care of risk. In our project management terminology point of view, if someone asks, how do you do risk management in Agile? We use a word for a PMP exam, Dinesh, whenever you want to give the exam, we call it organic risk management. We can say agile way of working does not require spatial documented risk management way of working, because our approach of evaluating the work every 2 weeks, taking the feedback from the stakeholders, evaluating the quality and deliverable every 2 weeks takes care of risk automatically. We will expose the issues and risk early, and we will adapt accordingly. So that's the one term which is associated with agile organic risk management. Now, somebody will say, okay, this all is good, but do we really identify a risk A, risk B, risk C? For example, risk could be the person may take a leave and which may produce a defect. The dependency may not come on time, which may impact our release date. We may have a licensing issues related to our product, which may create a trouble for us. All these are possible risks. Yeah. So do we take care of such kind of things? Or we just say we will do a definition of done and it will happen? So we do identify item-wise risk also, but that happen at a 2 level. First is you are doing iteration planning meeting or a sprint planning meeting. Now in a sprint planning, you are creating a clear sprint goal and you are identifying that this is what I want to clear cut achieve at the end of the sprint, which means you define what will be done increment goal at the end of 2 weeks. Yeah, so you can say these 3 stories will be completed as per definition of done, and we will demo it. That is something you are planning in a sprint planning meeting. Now, while you are doing that planning, you may see something may go wrong. Yeah. So you say, oh, we have a dependency in this story and that dependency may not fulfilled, or there is a technical unstable component for this particular story which may not get fulfilled. So you may have uncertainties, uncertain event, which is called risk, which may have an impact on your current iteration goal. Now, those uncertain events, you need to track them on a daily basis during your iteration. You may put that on your Kanban board. You may discuss them in your daily stand-ups, or the Scrum Master or project manager may maintain a risk board where he or she put it that these are the things which can go wrong. Better we keep eye on them. Yeah, that's a iteration level risk management. During a daily stand-up, we definitely keep reviewing whatever risk we have in our current iteration. We may also discover new risks which need to be taken care in order to take care of our upcoming iteration goal. Yeah, so that's the risk management part of it. Now here also I attach communication management. In agile way of working, by doing a daily stand-up and meetings like this, we achieve something called interactive communication. So we can say that the agile way of working promotes interactive communication where everyone comes together and talk about what is happening. So every day we will have a daily stand-up where we will discuss what we have achieved and how well we are going in our iteration goal and what kind of adaptation we have to go do. And that takes care of communication as well as incremental risks. Yeah. Now, do I need to make risk visible so that people can see themselves rather than I inviting them? Yes, that thing is called pull communication. So by using a pull mechanism or using something like a Kanban board or something, we support pull communication where risks are made visible to our team and stakeholder, depending upon how we work there. Yeah. Now we finish our iteration, and we have a demonstration of our work. In this demonstration, also we can discuss how are we doing and what are the future risks. Now, there are two levels of risk management. One is a risk management done at an iteration level, which will be helping us to ensure that we are meeting the iteration goal, that focus. And another risk management, which is happening at a beyond iteration level, which help us in ensuring that we will achieve our future roadmap goal. That risk is getting discussed in iteration review meeting with the interactive communication, and you invite appropriate stakeholder in the iteration review as per your communication understanding. You may have a documented communication management plan, or you may informally select set of people attending that particular meeting. Yeah, no guide or book can tell you that these are the people should come in an iteration review meeting. You as a project manager has to identify, in a hybrid approach, I'm using that word rather than Scrum Master, who are the right people to attend the iteration review. So those right people should be there. And in an iteration review, you will show them the work you have completed as per definition of done of that particular set of stories and that iteration stage. And based on that, you will take a feedback Yeah, and stakeholder will talk about the things which they are worried for the future. Now, these feedbacks and risks for future will be an input for our backlog refinement activity. Now, in a PMP exam, if you see a word product owner, yeah, product owner, as you all know, what is the role of a product owner, but we are focusing on hybrid word. We can have a product owner, we may not have a product owner. But if you have a product owner in the question, if you have a customer in the question, yeah, product owner and customer can be used interchangeably. Yeah. So these people are expected to run an activity very frequently, maybe once in a 2 weeks, and this activity is called backlog refinement. In the backlog refinement, we are adding new item to a product backlog. We are removing some of the item from the product backlog, and we are prioritizing those items. And one of the activity or a agenda of a backlog refinement, it's an interactive communication. Again, we are bringing people together, is a future risks. So based on the risks which you see in your upcoming iterations, you may want to add some action items. For example, you can say this technology is risky. We want to learn this technology. So that item has to be added in the product backlog. Oh, this technology is unstable. This dependency is unstable. I think I want to make this dependency integrate fast. Yeah. So you want to prioritize that work early. So the whole impact of future risks are done by way of adjusting the product backlog priority or by way of adding items in the product backlog. Yeah. So in a simple word, the agile risk management, we do it organically, we do in a small cycles. We keep people collaborative. Everyone is attending iteration review. Key stakeholders are present in a backlog refinement meeting. So it's a collaborative exercise. That's a second high level idea. The iteration level risk, we take care in the iteration on an ongoing basis with the help of daily stand-up and Kanban board supporting pull communication. The longer than iteration level risks, we take care with the help of continuously thinking about it in a backlog refinement meeting and prioritizing some of the action items which are associated with those risks as per those discussions. Yeah, so that's the super high level overview of how do we handle risk in the agile. Any specific questions in this?
Any specific tool is
Is the
there
owner-
where
Tool, you will be either using Jira or Confluence where you will record. Tool is for what? Recording only. From an agile way of working, it is not mandatory to record. But if you are recording, you may record it as a Confluence page in your Jira, or you may have your one of the item in your Jira work item type, like you have issues, you may have an item like a risk there. In a traditional word, we create a kind of an Excel sheet kind of a tool. We call it risk register. Which is usually part of MS project, but in a way, it is not that, it's more like a documentation. So it's a text information which may have a 10 columns, and you are like putting as a table and you are adding record there. That's the tool which is used for tracking the risk many a time.
So,
Do we
two
need-
questions,
do we need to consider the teammates? Means the question is, sometimes we know that there will be a long vacation, or we should we consider like the teammates may take sick leaves. So these kind of things also can be considered as a risk.
Okay, yeah, maybe. So someone wanna say, is it a risk or is it not a risk? Now it depends upon, so say in a particular day, we can have 100 things can go wrong. Somebody may met an accident, power supply may not work, fire may come, earthquake may come. There are 100 things which can go wrong. Yeah. Now, all these 100 things, if you put in a risk register and you share to your stakeholder, stakeholder will say, that's a stupidity. I don't want to talk about all these things. Only talk to me something which is important. Now, if someone takes sick leave, is it something important or is it something which we need to deal with as and when things occurs? That is your judgment as per your stakeholder understanding. Now, if you are working in a very critical phase, and if the person is very critical, you may want to worry about the person taking sick leave and want to plan for his sick leave. That's a possibility. If you are not in a critical situation, and if the person is also not critical, you know that these kind of variation can come. Rather than person reaching at 9 o'clock in the office, sometime he reached 10 o'clock in the office. There's a possibility. You may not want to mitigate that risk. But if there is a 9:30, there is a customer demo happening, then you probably want to worry that what if the guy will not reach by 9 o'clock? Yeah, then you may want to take a mitigation of the risk also. You want to discuss it and says, if this guy is not coming, you are not going to give a demo. So no risk is absolute. It all depends upon how likely it is going to happen and what is the impact of that particular risk. Yeah. So yeah, again, we will definitely discuss more in our upcoming session. But the probability and impact of the risk make some risk important and some risk less important. As a result of probability and impact, stakeholder will tell me if the risk is beyond this level, I think you should talk about it. If less than this level, you don't even have to document it. Yeah. So based on that, it's from a technical definition, it's an uncertain event. Yes, it's an uncertain event. It can have an impact. Yes, it can have an impact, or it's a risk. But do you document it or not? It depends upon your understanding of how do you factor risk.
Got it.
Yeah. Padma, you want to add something? I think you were speaking. Yeah, go ahead.
In a lighter note, life is full of uncertainty, you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we
So-
take some insurance coverage sometime. Yeah, so some uncertainties we try to cover when we are more worried about it. Yeah, but there are many things which we can say, if I keep thinking about it, then I will not be able to step out of home. Yeah, I will always sit in my table only. Yeah, so that's you always, when you step out, you take care risk all the time. But yeah, you plan for some of them.
Yeah, so for my project, if my technical architect is going on a leave, on a sick leave, then it's a high risk for me, especially in the initial stages of our project.
Possible. Yes. Yeah.
So my question was basically, you mentioned risk register, right? Now, who maintains this risk register in this case, in our case, because it's a hybrid, right?
In agile or hybrid way of working, it is not mandatory to have a risk register. First thing, yeah.
Correct.
But if your stakeholders are looking for it, yeah, then you should also have a person who is handling it. By default, that person is called project manager. But in your company, that person could be called something else also. But it is a project artifact, all project artifact, like identification of risk, putting the risk into risk register, prioritizing the risk, reporting the risk in a frequent management review sessions, highlighting the risk on to an appropriate stakeholder, identifying what kind of response strategy we should take. By default, all this is the topic of your PMP exam, and they are expected from the project manager, and they get tested in the project manager interviews as well. That's there. Now, from an agile or hybrid way of working, you may have some kind of division. There could be some set of risks which are strategic oriented, which are product oriented, which are future release oriented. Those risks might be taken care by product owner, yeah, in the organization. That's a possibility. Like, what if the customer will not adapt this? What if we don't get anyone buying b2bmobile.com? Yeah, what if the supplier of the people will not produce the amount of capacity we need in order to sell our product? So those kind of risk will be probably taken care by a product group. You call it product owner or product management group, whatever the word customer. Yeah, you may identify that. But there will be a risk related to what if our product will not be at quality? What if our product will start crashing on the first day? So those kind of risks, or what if we have a rain and we cannot do a deployment in a data center, for example, yeah, or what if the component we are using start failing very frequently? So those kind of risk usually goes to the delivery team. Yeah, so delivery team usually under the leadership of a project manager or a scrum master. So we need to identify which category in some structured organization. We also do a risk categorization. In a PMP exam, we do learn about risk categorization, predictive lifecycle topic, not adaptive. Yeah, predictive lifecycle topic. So you can say we can have a technology risk, business risk, compliance risk, safety risks, ethical practice and corruption related practices risk. We can have all those kind of risks. And for different risk categories, we may have a different people who will be owning that area. But overall, as a project manager, I need to ensure that we have a consolidated place where we can see all these risks.
So, sorry, I'm asking you another question. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Time
perfect.
permits?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just mentioned about technical risk. Is the input of this technical risk goes to the product refinement sessions? It
Yes.
should go,
So
right?
for an agile perspective, all inputs, if the scope of this risk is limited to current iteration,
Mhm.
yeah, then your iteration planning is the focus area. Yeah. So say you have a failure which can impact the sprint goal. You need to discuss in a sprint planning, and you need to discuss it every day during daily stand-up. Yeah. If this technical risk is not impacting current sprint goal, but has a potential of creating a chaos for you as you grow your product. You have a technical debts, they are growing, and if you don't take care of them, after some time, your product will not be usable. For example, yeah, that's a technical risk which has been identified. That risk will be a discussion in a backlog refinement. Because of those technical risk of growth of your technical debt, you may want to create a task to redesign your portion of code, a work item, and we can say it's a refactoring work or it's a technical debt removal work, and that work will be get added in your product backlog and will get prioritized based on how serious you see that particular risk. Yeah, so product owner and the technical people will have a discussion, and this is coming here, and this will come as an item in the upcoming sprint. You may have a sprint goal of improving your technology to mitigate that risk.
So what is the recommendation around product refinement? How often should you do it?
So
What's the
no
recommendation?
recommendation.
Yeah.
From a Scrum perspective, the Scrum only gives one recommendation, that up to 10% of team's time can be go into refinement. So say if you are running a 10 days a sprint, then 1 day go for a refinement. That's overall. Yeah, overall 10% of the time maximum. Now, do you put that in a one go or you put it incrementally? So usually there is a offline refinement which is done by product owner and technical people thing, and they may do a once in a iteration 2-3 hours meeting to get ready and understand the feedbacks of iteration review, and the product owner is expected to come with the homework, and then we refine it and put back into the product backlog. But no framework like a Scrum or anything is recommending a particular time box. In safe way of working, we do recommend that we can have a team backlog refinement, which is mostly to be a meeting of 2-3 hours in the mid of the sprint. Yeah, but that's a safe work. But yeah, you should do it.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm done.
Anything else, anyone on the risk part? And briefly, I touched the communication as well, but yeah.
Well, I think I was interrupting Dinesh thought process. Sorry, Dinesh.
Oh,
He was
Dinesh was
trying to
also
say
asking
something.
something. Go ahead, Dinesh. Yeah.
No. So I was asking about the ownership point of view, right? So, for instance, if I'm not the owner to decide on uh, the closure of a risk, right? So, if I'm depending on customer, right, how to track or how to push it forward. Some situations it will impact my overall baseline.
Possible. So I would say that in our predictive or a contract way of working, most of our weekly reports, monthly reports, all organization will focus on highlighting top 3 risks, top 5 risks. So I need to make sure that those risks which are of an impact of customers will get highlighted in my periodic status reports. Sometimes you give a status report in a RAID format, risk assumptions, in like dependencies, there are formats. Yeah. So whatever format you prepare, most of the organization will have a risk section in their weekly and monthly reports. So make sure that your risk is highlighted in a weekly and monthly report. In general, along with consultation with your PMO, we need to have an escalation thresholds identified. And these escalation thresholds has to be identified for things where you go beyond your limit. You can say, you are as a project manager for a PMP exam also, your goal is that you take care of work risk as much possible yourself. You don't run for escalation each and every day. Yeah, that's a basic mindset. You do your collaboration, you try to call them, you engage with them, you do whatever it takes. But if you reach to a limit, which it is not under you, and you says, I probably end up giving up at this stage, then it has to be escalated to a next level. Now, what is the next level? As per my organization standard, I need to understand that, because now it is in the benefit of the organization to do something, because I tried and I could not resolve this particular risk. So two suggestions. One is that make sure that you do your best and you make these risk as a visible item in your various status reports, and use the language which stakeholder can understand. If that is not producing any result and risk has reached to a threshold, then go for escalation. Yeah, and it's an answer for PMP exam as well. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So
Yeah.
it will be part of your communication plan, right? What if this happens, how I communicate? You will reach out
Yes.
to
So
the
escalation is a
sponsor.
communication plan. Yeah, escalation is a communication plan, and what kind of reports you produce at what frequency is also a communication plan. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. From a PMP exam perspective, quantification and ranking of risk. Should I call it high risk, low risk? That will be defined in a risk management plan. Yeah. So there is a little another plan. You will know a lot of plans in a PMP exam, but they are not difficult once you get the key of the code. Yes. Yeah. So see, actually, many time, little diversion, many time we think the theory is A and practice is B. Yeah. And theory and practice are separate. Actually, they are not. Theory is practiced by you differently every day. Yeah. But theory cannot change every day. So that's a limitation. So when I learn project management, I learn, but day one project management, day two project management, I need to bring in a PMP exam, we learn enterprise environmental factor, organization process assets. So every day we need to adapt based on what is happening in the environment. But the theory of communication, the theory of backlog refinement, the theory of definition of turn is always useful for me. So my advice, many of you, because we are approaching the final hour as well, whenever you learn, be it a Scrum or be it Agile or be it a project management, I do believe project management is more comprehensive and takes care of more situations. Yeah. The Agile is little bit more isolated and they only take a one default flow. That's one characteristic. But both of them need to be put into the real context, which you will do it. Yeah. But don't feel bad that, theory is something else and we are doing something else. Each company who is using Agile, there could be 1 million companies using Agile, but nobody can use it in the same way. They are working in a different product. They are working on a different technology. They have a different contractual situation. Some companies are having working from home. Some companies are having working from office. Some companies are distributed team in a 3 location. Some are distributed in a 2 location. Some company has a collection of freshers. Some company has a collection of senior resources. Somewhere Scrum Master is highly paid individual. Somewhere Scrum Master is very low paid individual. There are so much confusions. Now, based on that, you need to apply your theory. Yeah. So our process will adapt, and that is what we can learn. But nobody can teach you the millions combinations of how to use project management or Scrum in these million situations. Yeah. That is something you will discover. But these all ideas which you learn from your various classes and various theories, you go with the mindset that I will change it, yeah, as per my situation. And that's how we learn. And in a PMP exam, I keep reminding that all the time. And I keep reminding that our goal is to make a project objectives achieved. And fortunately, the PMP content is designed in such a way which reminds that you need to take a call. Nobody can tell you what to do. But these are the tools, these are the ideas which can help you in improving your actions. Yeah. So a little bit about risk, little bit about communication. I will spend a little more time about a term called communication management plan. I think Swati was also interested in, Dinesh brought that word also to clarify what it can have. And then we go to matrices. Any question till here? Okay, now the slides which I am browsing, they will be available to you in case you want to download and play with them. This is a Jamboard. I'm putting a link here. I will also save it as a PDF and share in an email along with the file of learning. Yeah, so this is one of the artifact of the training which you can have with yourself. Yeah, so it's with you. You can directly access yourself as well. In any case, I will share with the help of a PDF file. Okay, so moving forward. and I talk about something called communication management plan. Now, as Dinesh pointed out, one of the key job of project manager is communication. So if we learn about PMP, we have various areas. And two areas which are very specifically set, the project manager end up spending the most time, himself, is integration and communication. There is a project costing also, there is a project scheduling also, there is a project scoping also. There is a possibility you may have a business analyst who is doing project scoping. You may have a scheduling engineer who is doing scheduling. You may have a costing engineer who is doing costing. There's a possibility. But as a project manager, the overall accountability remains with you for the whole planning, but you yourself end up doing things most of the time, communication and integration. Integration means integrating all the aspects of project management to make sure that we are coming to a common goal, common purpose. So communication, many a time people talk about that around 70 to 90% of project manager time goes into communication. Now, this is actually reduced when you are using adaptive life cycle because you do a daily stand-up and other things, so people can talk themselves. So you spending time in communicating will increase if you becomes more predictive. So we can say hybrid approach. The more and more predictive, more and more contract, more and more complicated stakeholders will start getting added in a project, the more and more load of communication will get added on a project manager. The self-organizing team, people can decide themselves, they can plan their work, they can talk to each other. The more and more that happens, the communication will start happening inside the team and project manager has less to do with about it. But still, maybe a 50% communication still happen with the help of project manager because you still have a set of stakeholders. So important thing is it's something which you end up doing on a day-to-day basis, and a lot of soft skills are needed in order to make a communication. Now, we need to have an agreement about how do we do communication. So communication management plan is a term we use where we define like what we communicate. So for example, you can say that there will be a status review. Yeah, there will be a product demo. There will be a escalation. There will be a defect. So, we need to define what all things are happening, types of communications are happening. You need to probably define frequency of communication. This is happening weekly, monthly, or case-to-case basis. That's something you define. You also define how do you communicate. Means you send email, you give a call, you put a WhatsApp group message, etc., etc. You do a meeting. And who all will be receiver of what kind of communication. So usually this becomes more like a table, like this. And it may have the table will be a part of your communication management plan, where you will have a section where you focus on type of communication. Then you may have a frequency of communication. Then you may have a mode of communication, like email, other things. And you may have a list of stakeholders who are expected to get that communication. So you prepare this kind of a communication management plan. In a predictive life cycle, you do it, your organization will have a standard for it. In the same communication management plan, as Dinesh pointed out, you're also expected to define escalation communication, escalation process. That, okay, what will happen when a thing will be done? When should I escalate? And whom should I escalate? So as per your organization standard, as per the complexity of your project, you need to also identify the escalation standard. Now, in the agile way of working, do we need to have this thing documented? So agile will say not necessary. You can have some other mechanism, but hybrid, mostly you have a document called communication management plan. Now somebody will say, in agile, can I live without a communication management plan? So actually you have a default communication management plan in agile. Like you do sprint planning, you do a daily stand-up, you do a sprint review, you do a sprint retrospective, you do a backlog refinement. These 5 meetings and tentatively who all should attend this meeting is a communication management plan. And what you do in those meetings, and having a Kanban board to show what is happening, Jira board, Kanban board to show what is happening in your project or at a live environment, that's your communication management plan. So either it could be understood by everyone by way of understanding who all are participant of iteration review. Yeah. So who all stakeholders should attend that. So that should be clear. Who all have an access to a Jira board. Not everybody has it. Who all have it. It's a communication management plan. Who all will get communicated if we have a delay in our delivery. Yeah. So that has to be an agreement. That is your communication management plan. So you make it formally or you make it informally. In case of PMP exam, in case of hybrid projects and serious projects, we do expect it should be written understanding so people have clarity about how do we communicate and how do we interact throughout the project. This is more focused towards stakeholders, more focused towards stakeholder. Can I have an internal communication protocol also included in a communication management plan? There is a possible, you can do it, yeah, possibly. Sometimes people have a separate artifact which they create for their team interaction and they call it teams working agreement. So there they may focus more detail, what time we start office, at what all time we are available in the office, how many times we work from home, in which day we work from office. So those kind of agreements and also communication agreements may be there as a separate artifact, as a working agreement, sometimes also called team charter. But usually the important and external communication things usually get communicated and planned in a communication management plan. Yeah. Any question, comment? I hope this gives you a crash course on communication as well. And if you already have an understanding, then you see that how these things interact in the agile way of working. Good. Yeah. If this is good, then I start with matrices, my final topic, and we'll cover a few matrices so that you have a fair understanding of this. Agile execution. We are not talking about agile planning in this session. I have not spoken about how do you prepare backlog, how do you identify user stories. So those were my previous sessions. Yeah, sometime you may want to attend. This is a last session on agile series, which basically focuses on execution and closing of agile content. Yeah, that's the idea. But I think we got some idea related to general planning as well. Any question on communication before I go to matrices? Okay, so which all agile metrics you use frequently and may have a confusion about? Yeah, maybe someone wants to propose a matrix. In PMP exam, we have a limited one. So by default, I want to focus on the PMP exam one. So we have something called burn down, which is the most popular term in your agile world. And then we have a burn up. That's the another possible term. Then we have a Kanban board. Yeah, that's the thing. Then we want to have a working software. That's a major thing. Yeah, we call it done increment as per DoD. Yeah, and rest depends. There is a usual thing which is called velocity, very favorite for interviews and conversation as well. Yeah, I think minimum these. And if we get time, we will explore a little more as well. So these are the things which are frequently seen in the agile world, frequently. Others are less. 90% of the time you will see these matrices. Yeah, good. So I start. The first and foremost is your working software. Yeah, working software is the only measurement of progress you might have heard of. But if you don't have it, if someone asks, how do you measure the progress? See, what is the goal of matrices? So we have done something, we have done some planning, we are chasing our project objectives. We want to get a feeling about how are we doing? Are we on track or we are off? And if you are off, what should we do so that we bring ourselves back to the track? Yeah. That's the objective of metrics. You can say that you want to get your blood tests done. So it's a health metrics. You come to know about how your cholesterol and other things are working. It's an information about your health. It's a metrics. You may want to learn about the project status, how the project is doing. Is it on time, not on time? In our traditional world, those all are matrices. In the agile world, the health of the project first is determined by where is the last demo, what has been completed. Because we have an agile manifesto principle, the working software is the only measurement of progress. We also have an agile value talking about working software over comprehensive documentation. So when we are doing a sprint, at the end of a sprint, the demonstration of done increment is your matrix. Have you given a demo? If not, every other thing is useless. No other matrix will make sense. Yeah. So this is first thing. You need to have definition of done, and as per DoD, you need to have a demo. If that is not there, you probably need to use some predictive lifecycle matrices. You won't be able to make adaptive lifecycle matrices. All other matrices will not make sense to you. Yeah. You need to find something else. So what is working software? Whatever requirement you have picked up in your iteration planning meeting, you want to show. So these requirements are called user story. You have marked them done, you are demonstrating it. Yeah. Now, many a time in the agile world, we also set up a goal. We can say we've set up a sprint goal. Many times, after doing a demo of a working software, people also identify, have we achieved sprint goal? So this makes a working software a little bit clear as a matrix. It could be a yes/no matrix only. The sprint goals were achieved or not achieved. Yeah. So working software was satisfactory or not satisfactory. Sometimes people, majority of time in the agile world, they are recommended just have a binary goal. Have you met it or not? But in many organizations, we also have a percentage achievement of the goal also, where you don't talk about 0 and 1. You may talk about 80% goal has been achieved, etc., etc. If you are doing a percentage achievement, then you need to identify how do you do that. Probably it could be based on the feedback from the stakeholder, assuming you picked up 5 user stories, and based on how many work has been done, stakeholder will evaluate and says, okay, this much percentage we want to consider the sprint goal has been achieved. So as a project manager, Scrum Master, I need to make sure at the end of a sprint, we are doing a healthy demonstration of our product. We have a conversation where we talk about how well we have achieved our sprint goal. We need to figure it out. We want to go for a yes/no format, or we want to go for a percentage evaluation. This is happening in an iteration review meeting. The working software got made throughout the iteration, and definition of done was a guide to make that particular working software. Yeah. Pure agile or hybrid agile, but this is the first matrix. I hope I could relate and explain. And if anyone has a query, we will talk. So if someone asks a question in the interview, please start with working software as a first matrix. Yeah. Now, after this, probably we can pick up burn down, burn up, Kanban board, velocity, all these things are possible. Now, Kanban board is something which can be used in the predictive lifecycle or hybrid approaches as well, which means it can be used without working software also possibly. Yeah. But it is always showing, like if you are using Jira, Jira can show you a Kanban board. I hope all of you have seen Kanban board. Yeah, maybe thumbs up if you have seen the Kanban board in your tools.
Yes, have seen.
Okay, great, great, great. Yes, yeah. So great. So all of you have seen it. That's the assumption I am making. So then it has a stages and it shows how the work is moving. Now, what is this matrix? Somebody will say it's just a board. So say we focus on promoting pull communication. When we are doing daily stand-up, we need to analyze why this item is stuck here for so long. So we can have a tracking of aging on the board. We can also have a tracking of how many items are there at a particular stage. So Kanban board is more like an execution matrix. It is not a weekend or a month end or iteration end matrix. It is like every day. Yeah, every movement you want to see where we are. So this information is a very great information for your daily stand-up. So when your daily stand-up is happening, you probably want to see who is working on what, where things are stuck, how long they are stuck, and what we can do in order to unstuck them so that we can take them forward and achieve better results. So that's your Kanban board. Yeah. So I think working software and Kanban board are relatively simple. They don't require any much calculation. And working software will come from your code delivery. Kanban board can come from your Jira. Nowadays, all softwares like be it Asana, be it Azure DevOps, be it Microsoft Planner, or be it ClickUp, all, yeah, monday.com, everybody shows Kanban board. So Kanban board is a very default way of showing the list of items you have so that you can visualize them and take care of them in an effective manner. For PMP exam also, we use Kanban board as an information radiator. That's another term. So information radiator, again, that's a PMP and the agile terminology. So what we call it, that this is something which is radiating information. Yeah, in our project management language, we also call it pull communication tool. So any point in time, anyone can pull the information and understand what is happening here. It is not, I need to be told. I can say, I want to know what is happening in the team. I will look at a Kanban board. So I have a wish to see a Kanban board. I see it. So I am pulling information myself. Nobody sending email to me, nobody giving a call to me. I can any point in time do it. And now if I make this information easily accessible, easily visible at a common place, then it becomes information radiator. Information radiator means that this pull communication is put at a common place. It keeps radiating the critical information to all of you. You can go and consume it. So that's a term, information radiator. Can I have other thing also other than Kanban board as an information radiator? You can say yes. So it's like a notice board for your team. And you keep saying the team, you want to know anything happening in our project. First thing is you need to look at a notice board, yeah, so that all the key statistics are available there. And then we will talk if you have a specific requirement later. So information radiator is that term which keeps radiating information, and Kanban board becomes a good information radiator. You can put a burn down chart also as an information radiator so people know how they are progressing in a given sprint. So anything which is made easily accessible to the users, to the development team. User means the user of the communication, not the end users, is called information radiator. Any question till here?
So the monday.com gets updated if I put it in a common area where my team can look through it.
Yeah. So you can create
Monday.com can help me out. Okay.
Yes. You can create a dashboard, and
Okay.
you can create a Kanban board, and you can have a. So there are both way. So one is that if you're talking purely on Kanban board, then it's just a showing your work into 5 categories, 4 categories, and that's visible. That's one thing. Now, if you want to create an information radiator, which is having more information, then you can create a dashboard and give an access to that dashboard to many people. Sometimes you can make it that as soon as they log in, they can see that particular dashboard. That will become an information radiator for them.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else, anyone?
Even in, I think, in Microsoft Teams also we can create a board like Kanban board.
Great. Yeah. So I think they use Microsoft DevOps or something like Azure DevOps.
Yes.
Azure DevOps. Yes. So all these tools are available. You just need to see, and they are pretty much compatible with each other, and they will show you the Kanban board format. We also use Jira, so we can see these kind of Kanban boards can be seen in your work. And then you can also create a dashboard. Now, many a time people don't create dashboard. That's the issue. But you can have a dashboards created which shows a critical summary of your work items, whatever is suitable. You as a project manager, Scrum Master end up designing it. And anyone goes to a dashboard, they get a feel of it, what is happening in my project. So as a project manager, project coordinator, Scrum Master, I should create various types of dashboard. Maybe a dashboard for managers, which may have summary information, dashboard for team members, which may have a little detailed information for self. You can say everyone should see this dashboard so they know what is happening in the team environment, and that kind of information radiators you can create. So this is a pull communication. Anyone can go and find that information themselves. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So Kanban board and pull communication explained. Working software is our first starting point. I move forward then. Yeah. So burn down chart. So these two are done. I keep putting somewhere else. Burn down chart. Now see, burn down chart is basically useful in a Scrum way of working when you are marking things done. DOD has to be achieved. Without working software, the burn down chart will be confusing. Yeah. Burn down chart, burn up chart, velocity. These three things can only be well used when working software is in place. Kanban board you can use without that. Dashboard also you can use without that. Dashboard can be used in a non-software projects also. Kanban board can also be used in a non-software projects. But these three tools are usually more associated with a proper agile way of working software projects. Now, what is this burn down chart? You can prepare a burn down chart at an iteration level. You can prepare it at a release level also. So I'm assuming you all understand what is release. Release is a collection of iterations and you have a release level goal. So what is iteration? So say in an iteration, you have prepared an iteration plan. Now in a project management, PMP, we use word iteration plan. In a Scrum, you need a sprint backlog. In a general word, you can also call it iteration backlog. They are all same thing. Yeah. So you put in your Jira, when you start your iteration, you create all the tasks, you identify them, and you identify who will do it, what sequence we will follow. You do it in a which iteration planning meeting. Yeah. So iteration planning meeting produce iteration plan or iteration backlog. I hope this is all clear. And it has to be done in consultation with the team. The Scrum Master project manager can facilitate it. Requirements are coming from requirement people, customer or product owner, depending upon who is available. You may have a hybrid project where customer gives the requirement. You may have a pure Scrum project where you have product owner giving the requirement. You get from somewhere and you are evaluating what you can do in the upcoming iteration, say 2 weeks time, and you are putting that item into iteration backlog. You may prepare your Jira board for that particular 2 weeks iteration. Yeah, so I hope all of you are clear. Now, this iteration backlog will have various elements. So you call them issues, you call them stories, you call them tasks. So they are there. Yeah. And all these work items will get estimated probably in hours, sometimes just in a story points, and there will be people assigned to it. And you want to finish them into 2 weeks. Yeah, this is your iteration backlog. Now, how do we see how we are progressing in this iteration? So iteration level burn down chart can help you in doing it. So you can say, let's take a sum total of number of pending hours in this iteration. So each work has been identified. We identify the total sum. And we are saying, since we are planning for these 2 weeks, let's make a work reduction chart. And we can talk about the x-axis is like a days. Every day I want to find out. So every day I will plot this chart. Say I have a 10 days of working days here. And then y-axis is remaining work. The work which is remaining in my iteration or in my situation at hand. Now, how do you quantify remaining work? You can quantify remaining work based on hours, remaining hours, sum total. That's a possible. Now, some of you who are using advanced agiles, you can quantify remaining work in a story points also. You can say how many story points are there in a given iterations to start with. That's a remaining work. So you will use your work unit. Here you can say in a sprint level burn down chart, we use hours as a unit. And initially assuming the first day the total is coming 200 hours. You can say today when we are starting a sprint, we have a 200 hours of work left in a sprint. And then you start working. You mark some items done. You remove some of the tasks. And the next day, all the items which are either in a backlog or in the in progress stage, you sum total number of hours needed for that work. And you can say, this is the amount work needed now. So every day you are going and reducing the hours, yeah, and the trend which shows, how well you are going for finishing the work. Probably you thought that you will be finishing at this speed, you can have a linear line, but if you are at a final few days and this much work is left, then we know we need to do something about it, because we are not going to finish the whole work in a this sprint. So we need to do replanning about that. So what is a burn down chart? It shows remaining work at a given point in time, and it helps us in creating the desired interactions in the agile team to find the solution. It can be used as an information radiator to communicate to the stakeholders and the team to show them how we are progressing in our iteration to our end goals. So that's a iteration level burn down chart. Yeah. Now, if you maintain your sprint well in your Jira, Azure DevOps, Monday.com, all can show you the iteration level. Monday.com has a software projects. Monday.com has a non-software projects also. So if you configure Monday.com software projects, you can definitely see the burn down chart there as well. Most of these tools support you to doing the iteration level burn down chart. Yeah. The same concept can be extended to release. So release is a collection of iteration. So timelines will become iterations now. There are no more days. Yeah, we are moving from one iteration to another iterations. And the size usually becomes in the format of story points. Yes, I have not explained you what is story point because this session was not focusing there. We have a separate session talking about agile estimation and planning. Yeah, so 3.5 hour session has its own flow. So we can have a story point as an amount of work. And we can say in the beginning of a release, we may wanted to do 250 story points. After finishing of a first iteration, how many story points are left? So we can plan that way, or rather than plan, we can track that way, and we can see how much work is left after each iteration in a story point format using the burn down chart. Yeah. So burn down chart shows us the flow towards the end, and it helps us as a project manager, scrum masters, to create transparency in the system. Because say Kanban board is giving you information about what is happening now. That's it. But what is happening now, how it is going to impact your iteration end, how it is going to impact your release end is not visible from there. So the burn down chart shows I am here. Now I am here. It also shows you should be reaching here. So you ideally should be here. Now there is a gap. Guys, you are slow. You are here. Thank you. But what do we do? What do we do so that we can speed up? That interaction can only happen when we have a view which also shows the future direction, future goal. And the burn down chart is one of the tool which shows us that particular direction. And that's the utility of this particular matrix. Any question, comment here? I hope most of you are using it. That's why it's a little easy. Good. So intent is clear?
Yeah.
I want to say something?
No, I said I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so that's a burn down chart.
Sorry, most of
Good.
my clients want to see the graph of burn down chart. And in our status reports calls, they want to see this burn down chart. What's the progress and how are we doing it? And they compare it with the Kanban.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's a transparency. So who is responsible for it? Scrum Master / project manager. Now in a pure Scrum, it could be a Scrum Master. In a PMP exam, it could be a Scrum Master or project manager. That's a PMP exam deviation. Yeah. And we need to make sure that we show them where we are, because transparency is the key, because without transparency, we cannot change our direction. That's the idea.
Yeah. So can we use this in a program as well?
Any level.
Program level.
Yeah, any
Okay.
level. It's like a
We
total
can, right?
work.
Yeah.
In total work, you need to identify x-axis and y-axis at a day
Correct.
level. And we can say in the multiple team, you may aggregate for multiple teams. Yeah, so there is a possibility you may use release level burn down chart. If you are using at a multi-team level, then you probably won't be doing hour based. You will be doing story point based, most likely. And you might be doing at an iteration level rather than a daily basis, most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I use it more in the program level.
Perfect. Yes. Good. Burn down. Now, here we have some problem because we only show what amount of work is left. So same information, using the same data, you can use and create another chart, which is called burn up chart. And then we have a final as a term called velocity. This is the area now. Now, what is burn up chart? Underlining data is same. The same data can prepare burn down chart. The same data can prepare burn up chart. Yeah. Usually burn up chart is used at a story point level, and it is used at a iteration release levels, multiple iterations level, rather than inside the iteration alone. So one dimension remains the usual. Your x-axis is usually a time, yeah, time in the format of iteration. So say iteration 1, iteration 2, like this, you keep putting it, yeah. After iteration 1, after iteration 2, assuming you had a 4 iterations to release something, yeah, to your customer. You have done a release planning, and at the end of a 4 iteration, the customer release will happen. So these tools are more useful when you have a long-term planning done. If you are not doing release planning, then probably they don't care about burn down and burn up chart. At least burn down they still can track. They focus more on working software and sprint goal achieved or not achieved. Yeah, in case you don't have a longer term release, but if you have a longer term release, it will be a timeline, time in the format of iteration. Now the y-axis is a work done. Now that's a difference. Not remaining work, work done. Yeah. Work done, done means as per DOD. Simple. Yeah. In story points. So work you quantify in some points, yeah, usually used in the story points. So we want to identify how much work has been done progressively. So assuming you are done with your first iteration closing, yeah. So after first iteration, if you have finished 20 story points, we can say 20 story points has been completed. And now this portion is actually points completed in iteration is called what? Velocity. Yeah. So say, what was your velocity in a first iteration? That's the point you are adding. You can say, oh, we have finished these many points. Then in the next iteration, you add how many points you have finished in the second iteration. Okay, this is your sum of that particular second iteration velocity to a previous one. So say till now, I have finished, say, 35 story points. First, I finished 20, then I finished 15. Now today I am at a 35. It means my velocity for iteration 1 was 20 and my velocity for iteration 2 was 15. So I am focusing on burning up. Yeah. Now, where you want to go? What is your target line? We can say in our release, we have to finish 100 story points. Target 100 story points, or you can say total work is 100 story points. Yeah. So you have a total work which is coming at the top, and you have a chasing line which is moving towards that particular goal. Now that's a burn up chart. Now you need to be very clear about velocity, and let me clarify, and then I come back here. We will discuss these two matrices together. Now velocity is a pure Scrum terminology. Yeah. So you are starting with some set of user stories as an iteration, and you are finishing the iteration and you want to give a demo. The stories which will meet definition of done. Have we met DOD? Yeah, that's a question. You will ask for each story. And for those stories which get met there, the points of those stories will get added, and we will say this was our velocity. So say stories are estimated in story points. I know I have not taught it here, but this is previous topic. So we have agile requirement gathering. We convert them into user stories. We play a planning poker, and based on the planning poker, which we do in a backlog refinement meeting, we put these story points to the user stories. Now we work in a given iteration based on our iteration goal, an iteration sprint plan, and we finish the iteration, and then towards the finishing, we are analyzing how many stories we have completed and what were the story points of it. So assuming I have finished one story of 5-pointer, another story of 8-pointer, another story of 5-pointer, yeah, then I will say 18 is my velocity. Finished means as per DOD. Without DOD, no finishing. Then there is a guessing game. So as many stories get marked done for a PMP exam, you may get a question. One story was 50% complete. You don't take any credit for 50% complete. Only stories which get marked done will get counted as a velocity. Now, what is the use of this velocity? This velocity gives us a help to project our future work. We can say in this iteration, we have done 18 points of work. Probably in the next iteration also, we can do 15 to 20 points of work. Yeah. So by using our real velocity, we can forecast velocity. Yeah? So say I have a 3-4 historical data, 3-4 iterations historical data, then I know, yeah, from the last 4 iterations, this has been my velocity. So probably this will be my future velocity. Yeah. And if I have that information, assuming I have lots of requirement and I want to plan how long it will take to finish these requirements, I do a story point estimation for them. And if I identify the total is coming 100 story points, and I have an understanding of my average velocity is 20, then I know in a 5 iterations, I will be able to finish these work. Yeah. Though this topic is estimation and planning, I am just briefly using it so that we understand what is the intent of velocity. So there are 2 types of velocity we should worry about. One is the real velocity, which you calculate as a sum total of your current iteration, finished user stories, story points. And another term is an estimated velocity, which you use for your release planning. In case of scaled agile, we use it for PI planning. Some of you, Padma and Dinesh, has done safe training. That's why I'm using the word. So when you use that futuristic planning, then you use a velocity as a benchmark for or a reference point for your release plannings. Yeah. So velocity is one of the metrics. You track it, you see it, you observe it, and you also use it for your futuristic forecast. Yeah. And using that velocity information, yeah, you keep accumulating the work and you can say, okay, these are story points we have done. And it shows how you are chasing. If there is a gap, you can say, oh guys, we need to fill this gap, or we probably will need another iteration to fill it. This is the utility of a burn up chart. Yeah. Any question, comment in these 5 charts which we have done, these 5 matrices we have done, or any specific metrics you want to discuss further, anything which is maybe not coming from here, but if you are using it, probably I have some idea I can share if you have something to talk.
Sir, I have not used up till now the burn up or burn down chart, but what I understand from this session is to prepare these charts, we need to complete our task management or the sprint, then only it can be done. Unless and until it is not taken care, it is not possible to prepare the things.
The answer is yes. The answer is you will not be able to use the agile matrices. Yeah, but it doesn't mean that you cannot use any matrices. Yeah, that's an important differentiation. So say if I don't have a DOD, yeah, if I am not finishing iteration work, then burn down chart, burn up chart, velocity, I cannot use. But I can use something else. Now that something else, maybe a predictive life cycle, something else, or it could be something which is driven by us. Maybe you create small milestones. Yeah, you may have a milestones of finishing design. You may have a milestone of finishing wireframes. And now you are tracking, have you achieved that particular milestone? Yeah, that could be your metrics. Or you may have a weekly status report where you talk about something which your stakeholders are interested in. So the whole idea here is these are matrices which are used when we are working in the agile mode, or even if you are working in a hybrid mode, but we are working in a DOD basis and iteration basis. But if you are not working in a DoD basis, if you are not working on iteration basis, then Kanban board is anyway there. Yeah, that something can be used. But you need to think about, how do I tell about my progress to my stakeholders? How do I know, are we going to finish this project in 2 months, which we initially thought about, or it is going to take 3 months? How do I come to know 1 month in advance rather than only after 2 months I come to know this is not finished in 2 months? So if you have a situation when the project time gets over, then people come to know this is late. And even if they come to know this is late, they have no clue how late it is. Then you are missing some of the matrices. So as a project manager, yeah, we need to use our appropriate matrices, though our session was more focused on agile matrices, but you can have other matrices as well. Now, depending upon your life cycle. So do you have a reporting, Swati, happening? Do you produce weekly report, monthly report? If yes, what do you put there?
Not exactly. Normally, we discuss it over the call or the on mailing system, and while demoing the current status.
So what I
So,
can sense here is, since you are doing short duration projects, these things are done little informally, because the client will get the delivery itself in 2 months or 1.5 months. So they
yeah.
are not that much worried about what is happening during that time.
Yeah, but I want to do it in systematic way.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
though it is a short term
Perfect.
projects, but still I want to go with the flow you define
Perfect.
right now.
Perfect.
So that was the question behind in front of me, that how it is possible for short term projects, and how it can be done with the help of
It's
burn
the
down and
same
burnout.
flow, but you need to focus on 2 aspects first: definition of done and working software done. If you cannot have a completion of something and demonstrate it at the end of an iteration, which can be evaluated and provided feedback upon, then things will not work out. Yeah. So don't think about burn down chart. Don't think about burn up chart. Don't think about velocity. Think of how at the end of a 2 weeks, we can have a product demo and we can take review or declare as a minutes of the meeting that 10 features were demonstrated and they were found okay. And they have a feedback about it. And we can say this much work has been completed. Yeah. So that's the first step.
Okay.
Now, once that first step is achieved, that first step cannot be achieved without DoD. So you need to first have a small requirements. If you have a big requirement, then they will not get in a 2 weeks time. So writing a good user story, that will be a first thing. So you need to have a good backlog refinement, good user story discovery. We do a user story session also in a similar manner. So you create a right set of user story. They are small. They really get done in 2-3 days time. You have a definition of done. You have an acceptance criteria, and done user story get demonstrated. Yeah, that's a raw material. You have a planning and you have a execution. Now, the matrix is just putting numbers to this raw material. Yeah, matrix is about telling, oh, we have done 20 points user story, but we need to finish user story before you tell 20 points user story. So once I have those flow clear, then I say, guys, these user story, we have done 4 user story, but these 4 user story were not same size. So we better start estimating those user story, the story point estimation. Now that's a precondition. Once the story point estimation done, then you can say, I can tell how many story points we can finish in a 2 weeks time. That becomes velocity. Yeah. And then you can say, based on our current velocity, we can do a trend forecast. We can see what is going to happen in future. Then your burn down chart and burn up chart starts coming in.
Yeah.
Good. Anyone want to add something or want to ask something here?
So can you explain a little bit more on the lead time?
Okay, that's something we can try. So that's a part of document also, Padma. It was part of my goal. So there are something, but
Sorry to interrupt you. There is another one also which I always wanted to understand, the escaped defects. I mean, the development team always talks about this, so I want to have a little more knowledge on that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, good. So let's talk about escape defect and the lead time. So escape defect is easy, yeah, relatively, and that is something we can figure it out any point in time. So say the escape defect is always focused on that you did something and you release your deliverable to the customer. Yeah. So it went to the customer. Customer started using it. And the customer is reporting the defect. So defect reported by customer is called escape defect. Simple. So the what is the word of escape is this defect has escaped our verification and validation process. Our team, our DoD, our checking could not catch it. And it went out. And this is something, a serious defect now. So escape defect, many a time we just count how many escape defect we got in a given month or a given week. And this is usually considered that when we cross our boundary. Now, sometimes if in a multi-team environment, it may not be going to the customer, but maybe going outside your team's boundary, something which team said finished. From our side, we have delivered it. And later on, someone else is saying, guys, this was not working, this was not working. Just counting them is called escape defect. Now you can have a weekly bar chart, monthly bar chart. You can show a trend of the escape defects over a period of 1 month. And those all could be a presentation, but it's just a count number observed in a given duration.
So this is more associated by the customer catching the defect.
Yes. It's more question. Yeah. So outside your team, catching the defect.
Okay. So I sometimes get confused if it is okay, even if my QA team, I mean, they also catch defects, right? I mean,
That's not escape one.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
And why we want to quantify it and specify it? Because the customer catching is a serious matter. So it gives a question mark on my QA as well as development team both. So say how our QA and everyone missed it. That's the essence of it. Yeah. So you may have a time period, month 1, month 2, month 3, you can prepare a bar chart out of it, or you can create a line graph out of it. It's a number of chart, the defects, and you can say this is our escape defect chart or escape defect reporting counts. Yeah, that's the one word.
The lesser the better.
Yeah. The 0 is the better. Yeah, the escape defect is something we can call it less is better. Good. Yes.
Thank you.
Can we say that escape defects are those defects which are found when after the product goes on live?
Yes, definitely.
Or the bugs which are captured by the client at the time of UAT?
So that cannot be. Yeah, UAT defects can also fall under escape category because it is something which you missed. You missed it. Yes, both.
Okay.
Yes, both. Yeah, and you want to track it, see it, and that's a one metric. It's a quality metrics. It's a rework. It shows the effectiveness of your quality processes. Yeah, that's the thing. Now, there are some Kanban matrices. We call them lead time, cycle time, and throughput. So these are 3 matrices which are pretty much interconnected. So you have a Kanban board. You all know that. You start an item here, you move. Finally, it ends here. You started on 1st of July. You finished on 10th of July. Yeah, this item got added on 1st. This item got finished on 10th. So it took 10 days to finish it. That's the lead time. Simple. Any items passing through your stages and finishing it, how long it took to pass through. Now, it is not, I only worked on it for 1 day. Doesn't matter. You worked on it for 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 day. Doesn't matter. It took 10 days in your development cycle. That's a lead time. So this is a good tool for a flow-based work. And it's a customer-oriented thing. So customer says, we give you a request and you take X amount of days to finish it. That's a lead time. So it is not usually used in a Scrum word because Scrum word, we do iterative working. We use burn down chart and burn up chart. But if you are not using Scrum and you are doing production support, you have escalations or issues coming in, and each is raised as a ticket. You resolve the ticket, you close the ticket. Then you want to identify how long it takes to close the ticket. That could be a lead time for you. Yeah. So lead time is a starting and ending time. We use a word lead time. Now, sometime you may want to focus on part of the process. You can say, guys, there is a requirement people, there are so many things. I am doing development. My team is just doing development. The ticket has a backlog also, and ticket has a development also. I probably only want to identify how much time we took in our development stage to work on the ticket. So that could be a cycle time. We can say we fix the ticket in every 2 hours. So we took 2 hours only to fix that particular thing. But overall, it took 10 days. So that's another problem. But for development time during 10 days, our boundary was this much only. So sometimes sub-unit also maintain that time, and that thing is called cycle time. So cycle time can be defined as a starting boundary and ending boundary. You can define any start and end boundary in a whole cycle. And you can say that this much time I want to track. It's a subset of lead time. Lead time starts with the customer and finishes with the customer. The cycle time is in between. So say you order a pizza and you get a pizza at your home. So the time it takes to order from ordering the pizza and pizza reaching to your home is a lead time. But maybe the pizza company may want to maintain some statistics. How long we take to bake the pizza? How long we take to ship the pizza? So they may be maintaining cycle time in between. And they are saying average cycle time for today for baking was 5 minutes, guys. Average cycle time for packaging was 3 minutes for today. So they may want to maintain their specific area efficiency. That thing is called cycle time. So lead time is customer start to customer end, and the cycle time is a time it takes in between. Now, sometime at the end of the day, we also want to count how much work we have done, equivalent to velocity, but just by counting the number of items. So we can say how many pizzas we have delivered today. Yeah, that's it. That thing is called throughput. Yeah, sometime. So there is another word in a Kanban word. And this all is there in your file. I have explained it, but I am not going into further detail else it will become confusing. So throughput is just counting the number of items got finished in a given time period. Given time period could be a week, it could be a month, or it could be any timeline you put, usually weekly. And it helps us in understanding the capacity of our team. You can say we can deliver 100 pizza per day. So that's the capacity of our team. Throughput is something can be used without doing story points. We don't want to focus on how many small pizza, medium pizza, large pizza, because the pizza is pizza. We don't want to do bifurcation. So that's the difference between velocity and throughput. Velocity will say not all pizzas are same. I want to put a point and I want to create how many story points we have delivered in a week. That will become a velocity. When I don't want to get into complications of sizing because work items are more or less same, I just want to focus on counting those number of items. That becomes throughput. Yeah, all this is relevant for your PMP exam as well. And yeah, Dinesh, whenever you start your PMP journey, all this will be useful as well. Yeah.
So the one question for a cycle time, it varies on the task. Means, for example, a ticket for developing a login page and a ticket for developing a home page. So, though the number count of the ticket are 1 and 2, but still the cycle time for one number ticket definitely will take.
So you don't use cycle time, throughput, and lead time in that environment. Don't use it. Focus on velocity burn down chart there.
Okay, basically what happens when our managers or PMO or CEO ask to create a KPI on the base of the cycle time and the velocity. So at that time, normally I used to say that it cannot give the exact result, because velocity, on the basis of velocity, we cannot say that the last sprint went good or the last sprint went wrong.
So any metrics alone cannot give you information. You need to see collection of matrices. For example, sprint goals were achieved. Yeah, customer satisfaction was good. Velocity was done. So first information is none of the metrics alone can give you one information. That's the one thing. That's just a thing. Now coming back to different size of work item and tracking the completion and making some sense of that work items. Yeah. So Scrum way of working believes in heterogeneous work items. And that's why we need to first size the work items in a story points. And then we need to calculate velocity rather than cycle time and lead time. We don't create that. we calculate velocity, and velocity factors a small page, large page differently, because small page will be having 2 pointer, large page might be having 8 pointer. So you will have a 10 velocity just by doing 2 work rather than 2 velocity. So that's the difference between velocity and throughput. Assuming you can say, I have a problem, I cannot do story point sizing, and I cannot do, I also don't want to just count number of items. That is also little too much. Then sometimes some organization have a 2-3 categories of work. So for example, you can say pizza, pasta, let's define these two things separately. And we will have a pasta cycle time separate and pizza cycle time separate. So you may have a classification of work item, small work, medium work, and then you have a rule what becomes medium and what becomes small, and you may track the number of small items or a cycle time for small item and the cycle time for medium items separately. So that's also a possibility.